Okay, checking YouTube audio at 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, hey. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Delafield Plan Commission meeting for April 29th, coming to order at 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, could we please have the roll call?
Okay, Mayor Iker.
Present.
Commissioner Cahalan.
Here.
Commissioner Hausman.
Here.
Commissioner Kreinke.
Here.
Commissioner Merrick.
Here.
Commissioner Schultz.
Here.
Alderperson Wilkin.
Here.
City Planner Amy Barrows.
Here.
Building Inspector Scott Hussinger.
Here.
And excused this evening, Commissioner Donovan.
All right, thank you. Looking for approval for the minutes from March 25th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion or changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Or abstentions? Okay, minutes are passed. So now we've got citizens' comments for items specifically on the consent agenda items. So that would be for 2566 Sun Valley Road, for a business plan of operation for a therapeutic massage facility, and 412 Genesee Street, VT Properties. Other comments will be taken at the public hearings and after. Anybody wish to speak to those two items? Okay, then, go on.
Go ahead.
So a consent agenda.
Move to approve the items on a consent agenda.
Ed, can you?
I would like to remove item B from the consent agenda, please.
All right.
Okay, item B is off.
All right. So I'll move to approve item A on a consent agenda.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, or abstentions? Okay, so if you're here for 2566 Sun Valley Road for back and balance therapeutic massage, you've been approved. If you'd care to stick around, you can, or you're free to leave. So item B, 412 Genesee Street, VT Properties, applicant Colin Murphy, business plan of operation to operate a retail plant store known as The Plant Store.
I just wanted to pull this, or have this off the agenda. The applicant did reach out to me, and their hours of operation listed in the report and the application are pretty limited, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Friday through Sunday. They would like to extend those hours from noon until 8, 7 days a week. They'll likely start their business with those limited hours, but they may expand. And so rather than coming back in the future, they would like to get approval right away.
Did they say why they didn't even just go to 10 in the morning? I mean, noon seems limiting too, depending upon what they're doing for the retail operation, but that's fine. If they're not here, then they can't answer the question. So.
Well, they might, I believe they are here if you do want to ask the
Do
applicant.
you want to come up?
Is the applicant for the plant room here? Oh,
Yes,
Yes.
please. If you don't mind,
Have a seat.
sit down and press the bottom bar and the green light will go on, and then state your name and address.
My name is Dylan Murphy. My address is W296 N1742 Hidden Creek Court, Pewaukee.
So the only reason I'm asking the question about the
Yeah.
hours is if you change your mind again, then you have to come back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I mean, if you're going to run a normal retail operation, whatever, 10 to 8 might be more reasonable.
Yeah.
And now would be a good time to ask.
Yeah, can we do that?
sure. You can make.
That makes sense. Makes sense to me.
If,
Unless they vote me down, I'm pretty sure.
He needs an assistant manager too, so would you be willing to?
I've never met the man before, I swear. Sorry,
I would
Amy.
just make sure your motion includes the hours that you're approving, and then I'll put that in the certificate of approval.
Okay.
Makes sense, right?
Yep.
Save it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will move to approve item B on the consent agenda with the condition of hours operating from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Second?
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we go on to public hearings here. And so the way this is going to work, we'll introduce the topic and have the staff introduce the individual public hearing, and then the applicant will come up and give a brief summary of it and add anything additional that they'd like. And then public will be able to speak, and then the applicant will give a brief response, and then that item will show up later on in the agenda. So starting out with item 7A, public hearing number 1 is for a zoning map amendment for 112 South Cushing Park Road. owner Robert and Claire Wydul, and the applicant, that's same as the applicant. And the topic here specifically is to rezone the property from AE1 Exclusive Agricultural District to A1 Agricultural and Residential Holding District. So is the applicant here? Okay, why don't you come up and Amy will introduce the topic.
Okay, so this is a 12.2 acre property in the southeast corner of I-94 and Cushing Park Road. You can see the property on the screen. The property does consist of a single-family residence, barn, and several other outbuildings. It is served by a septic system and well. The applicant would like to rezone the property from the A1E Exclusive Agricultural District to the A1 Agricultural and Residential Holding District. The A1E district, which is the current district they're in, is really intended to ensure compliance with the Wisconsin Farmland Preservation Act, and it's intended to maintain and preserve large farms or farms that are at least 35 acres in size, and then to encourage predominantly agricultural uses. And residential uses are actually only allowed as an accessory to an agricultural use, and the resident has to be either operating the farm or a relative of the farm. Whereas the A1 Agricultural District requires a minimum lot size of 3 acres, and it does allow single-family residences as a more principal use regardless of any agricultural use. And so this property being 12 acres does not meet the minimum lot size requirements of A1E, so right now it is a legal non-conforming lot. And then also looking at the larger area south of 94, the other agricultural properties that are adjacent to Lapham Peak are all A1, which is what the applicant is proposing. As a aside to this, the applicant is proposing, and it's on a separate agenda item for concept discussion again tonight, to host several different kinds of agricultural business-related uses, including a coffee and roadside stand, flower, grape vineyard, possible entertainment, and hobbyist events intended to create a community gathering space. These uses, again, will be discussed separately on the agenda, and they're not part of the public hearing that is scheduled tonight. So if you're here to speak on this matter as a member of the public, please just keep your comments as specific as possible to the rezone. I'm sure the applicant wouldn't mind hearing a little feedback, but your comments regarding the use of the property really need to also be included as part of the public hearing for that use, which may or may not be scheduled for May. If not May, then a future meeting when the applicant has complete application submittal requirements. So you're definitely going to want to keep track of the agendas, and you may have seen an A-frame posting on the property. You'll see that pop up again when the public hearing is scheduled for the actual use itself. So tonight is, we're talking about the rezone, and then as for the applicant, make sure you stay until we get through both items.
So do you have anything to add about the purpose of the rezone or that? You want to name and address and then?
Robert Waduli, 112 South Cushing Park Road, Delafield. Nothing new revelatory-wise. Same thing, same plan. I don't know. Should I recap it or?
No, you will be talking about
Got it.
the conceptual plan later. This is specific to the technical aspects of just the zone change.
Just basically the flower stand, essentially, is what this would boil down to, right?
Well, tonight's hearing, I mean, we'll talk about the use
Yeah.
conceptually later. The hearing is really to go from A1E agriculture, exclusive ag to agricultural A1.
Yeah.
So it's really that simple.
Yep. Then I have nothing.
Okay, okay, you can have a seat. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak to this topic on the rezone of this property as part of the public hearing? You're making it real easy, okay. Seeing none, public hearing number 1 is now closed. Public hearing number 2, this is for a planned development amendment for the shops at Nagawaki. So this is Five Guys, Starbucks, what else is there? The home.
It includes the Sierra Trading Post and Marshalls, 2 different buildings.
Okay, so that's the address we're talking about. So it's location 2900 and various addresses on Gulf Road. The owner is BJV Nagawaki LLC, and the applicant is Darren Freirich. And this is for a planned development amendment for this property to divide it into 2 separate parcels. Is the applicant here for this? Why don't you please come up? And while you are, Amy will explain what's going on.
Okay, so this is a 7.45 acre property. Again, it does include the two buildings, the multi-tenant building with Starbucks and Five Guys and others, and then the building with Home Goods, Sierra Trading Post, and Marshalls. The applicant recently purchased the property, and they would like to divide it into two to separate the two buildings and allow them to be under separate ownership. And I'm going to go to, so what you see on the screen is the entire property. I'll just show you an image of a partial property. But if you can see the solid black line, that's where they're proposing the land division, just east of the long building with the smaller tenant spaces. So that western lot would be 1.99 acres, and the east lot would be 5.46 acres. The property is part of a planned development that includes several properties along Gulf Road and Gulf Court. And there's also a city-owned stormwater facility on Milwaukee Street that's part of the planned development. So the reason why the applicants are here for a public hearing, they do have to amend the PUD in order to divide the property as part of the CSM. And the later, again, on the agenda, there's going to be the request for the actual CSM, but this is just for the plan unit development. That PUD already allows some flexibility in regulations, and it does require harmonious development along all of those properties on Gulf Road. There are some added and modified regulations, including impervious surface and open space that are already incorporated. The applicants are not proposing any changes to the site at all. However, they do need flexibility in parking because most of the parking lot will be on that east lot. So what the city has requested at a minimum, if they're going to divide these, is that they have a cross-access and parking easement in place that would ensure that that parking lot is maintained and managed as one in the future, and that they both have the ability to use all of the parking out there. So it will feel and act the same as it is today. You're just going to see a split in ownership. Similarly, the property where Water Street Brewery is and Kohl's and Century, those are all kind of split up. Even the Century and Kohl's building has 3 or 4 lots as part of that. The city attorney is in the process of reviewing the final agreements. That's also going to include a sign agreement and then make sure the stormwater agreements are acceptable with the change in land, with the land division. So that'll need to be reviewed and approved and finalized before this gets forwarded to council, or before council considers it. You can forward it to council subject to that condition. And then I'll go over the conditions once we get to the discussion piece of this.
Okay, if you don't mind, if you want to speak, just name and address, please.
Darren Frericks, 301 North Broadway, Milwaukee.
Okay. And so if you'd like to add anything to maybe the purpose or?
No, Amy did it perfectly. Again,
Okay.
we're just dividing the lot, and no changes to the physical site or buildings that exist on the property.
Okay. And the parking arrangement is agreeable?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Without anything else to add, you can have a seat.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone here from the public wishing to speak on public hearing number 2 regarding the shops at Nagawaki? Going once? All right. So public hearing number 2 for shops at Nagawaki is now closed. Public hearing number 3, item 7C, conditional use site plan and appearance amendment for 4024 Nagawicka Road, DELC 0735998. This is for University Lake School. Applicant Chris Boudet. Conditional use site plan and appearance amendment to install soccer field lighting and to construct a shed. So if the applicant's here, why don't you come up while Amy gives an overview.
Okay, I'll go ahead. So the University Lake School has been operating for many decades, including the use of the existing athletic fields that are out there. They have 4 fields. The fields are located in the east side of Nagawicka Road on the south side of campus. The applicant is now proposing to install field lighting in the southwestmost field. There would be a pole in each corner of the field, and then each pole would have between 6 and 24 fixtures in order to consolidate that light as much as possible onto the field. The pole of the height of the poles will be 70 feet in height. They're originally proposing 50 feet in height. However, after the city engineer reviewed the plans, they felt that there was going to be extensive glare and obtrusion onto the neighbor's property. And so in order to resolve that, they hired a different company, and they came up with the revised pole height of 70 feet, which again allows it to concentrate the light more. And I believe the lighting engineer company is here with the applicant to answer any questions. Let's see, I did write in my report from last month, we discussed it too, some of the city engineer's concerns. He has reviewed the revised plans, and he is recommending approval and feels that the glare and obtrusive light issues have been removed, and there is no trespass that extends onto the adjacent properties. The trespass is allowed to extend to 0.5 foot candles at the lot line, and they're lower than that. The applicant's also proposing a 600-square-foot shed between the field and the road to keep the power and storage. They do need to have that shed be at least 30 feet from the right-of-way. And then that shed would consist of cedar lap siding with a concrete floor, asphalt black shingles, and then the fascia and soffits would be white aluminum with a white steel service door. And as part of the improvements, the applicant would like to install a second set of bleachers that already exists to allow space for a total of 200 spectators. So I believe it's with both, so there's a set of bleachers out there now. They would be doubling that, that bleacher area, and then the total of both bleachers is 200?
Correct.
200 spectators. And then I think at last month's meeting, one of the plan commissioners asked about parking. The applicant has indicated that they use an existing parking lot on the north side of the entrance drive that accommodates 75 vehicles, and then the adjacent grass lot is close by that accommodates an additional 25 vehicles, and then overflow parking is also available by the campus buildings. If later on, if you do decide to approve it, I would recommend signage that directs people to that overflow lot so that they don't park in the street. There are residential properties to the west and south of the fields, which you can partially see on the image on the screen. The applicant has indicated that there are mature evergreen trees that do get to the 70 feet tall height, and that they would screen the lights from the neighbors. We do just want to make sure that Plan Commission is ensuring that there is no glare, trespass, or obtrusive light, even if those trees are ever removed, and that was part of their analysis. And I did want to go to, I'm just going to show, it's going to be really hard to see on the screen, but I believe all the plan commissioners have it in their packet, a rendering that shows that there is no foot candle trespass on that on the adjacent properties, or at least not getting anywhere close to the 0.5 allowed. The school does intend on using the lights 2 to 3 evenings a week between April through May, and then again in August through October. And then they would be using them for special events such as homecoming and sports playoffs. The users of the field include the school's athletic teams, physical education programs, WIAA-sanctioned events or playoffs, and homecoming. And the lights would operate between 6 and 9 p.m., and the applicant has indicated that lights will not need to be on past 9 o'clock. There are no football activities proposed, and the games are shorter. So you'll see in my staff report, I recommended 10 p.m. I didn't want the applicants to violate the provisions, and they do state the games start at 7, and typically with a football game, you're getting beyond that 9 p.m. limit, but they don't play that, and the games are shorter, and they have indicated they will meet the 9 p.m. deadline. That's all I have.
Okay, do you have anything to add? Name and address to start with?
Chris Boudet, 4420 Nagawicca Road. She updated kind of our new plans, our, highest technology light we can essentially get. I mean, we got an international company now that specializes in lighting fields and cities and neighborhoods and stuff like that. So the concern of impacting the neighbors with light that is offensive or intrusive is essentially zero now, past, it doesn't cross our property line. The increased height, like she said, is to help with that problem. Increased height helps with that problem. So we feel like we've done everything possible to keep the light in our property lines, and hope that everyone likes how it
All right, you'll be back
Yeah, yep.
to answer questions.
Yep.
So I don't know if you want to let that stand, we'll hear public comments, and then unless there's something else you would like to add.
Yeah.
So name and address.
Melissa Benson. My home address is W327 South 755 Timberline Circle, Delafield. So just one thing to add about the bleachers. So they are portable bleachers, and right now a lot of people come with blankets and they sit on the grass. So this would essentially be providing seating for the spectators that are already coming to these games. So we're not necessarily installing more bleachers because we're expecting a lot more people. I think there's just as many, people who are already coming to games. They're just earlier on.
Okay. All right, thank you. You can have a seat, and then we'll invite the public. So I'm going to guess some of you are here to speak about the lights. So I'll ask for public comments, and just raise your hand. I'll call you up. Try to keep it within 2 or 3 minutes per comment, and I'll give you a warning if you go a little bit over that. But it's helpful if you hear something that you agree with, to just simply state that the person in front of you stated what your opinion is, and ditto them, and add anything else you'd like to add. So we'll see how it goes. Anyone wish to speak to public hearing number 3 about University Lake School lighting? Yes, sir, over here in the red hat. And the mics are on, so you can just sit down and just get, within 12 inches of the microphone. Start with your name and address, and then your comments, please.
Sure. Name's Kenneth Menon. Live at 3811 Nagawicka Road, which is right across the street from where the lights are going. I don't believe, even at 70 feet tall and whatever they show the perimeter of the lights coming down, I don't believe that's true. I moved out here 21 years ago. It used to be black. I could see the stars and everything. Of course, there's lots of things outside my control to add light, like pick and save and all these things that have now created a lot of light pollution. And now 3 nights a week sounds not that bad, but then some extra days, kind of like, okay, now before you know it, it's like maybe more days before you know it. And to me, right across the street, to have those lights on, I don't care whether or not the analysis shows. I don't believe that it won't encroach on my quality of life. If I'm sitting in my backyard and wanting to enjoy the darkness of my neighborhood, which I do very much enjoy, I don't believe that that's going to be, that these lights are going to be, they're not going to infringe on that. And so many nights of the week, it's like when I'm out there, it's like 3 nights a week is quite a bit. And so to me, I'm just voicing my opposition. I think that people can say what they will about lights, but they encroach, and things glow, and then they reflect and whatever else. So it's like my opinion is that I don't think you should approve it, and that it's not fair to me as a longtime resident. I'm not somebody who's come in here and said, okay, change the rules for for my purposes. I've been living here a long time, and so hopefully my voice matters. So that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir, in the back in the yellow. I said sir, but I only saw your arm.
I'm behind everybody. Hi, my name is Michelle Litke. I live at 3833 Nagawicka Shores Drive, right across the street from the proposal. We are also not in favor of the proposal. We don't feel like more lighting is going to keep their property natural, which is what they have talked about. We also don't feel like lighting is going to heighten their school spirit for soccer. Soccer program's been around for more than 50 years, and they have not had a problem with school spirit so far. So we don't think that the lighting is going to improve that at all. If it has to happen, the report from the planner did list possible motions, although there was only one approved possible motion on there, where she said she recommended Common Council approve the conditional use subject to a bunch of conditions. If it has to happen, we'd like to see at least 2 changes to the planner's possible motion, that all the lighting should be turned off by 8 p.m. We think 10 p.m. is incredibly unreasonable. There's a lot of people on our block that work early in the morning. We have a lot of people that are already in bed by 8 o'clock p.m. And they do have a lot of screamers and a lot of people that kind of sashay around the field after the games are over. So instead of number 6 says until 10 p.m. on her list, we would hope for 8 p.m. And then for number 8 on the list, we're hoping that the WIAA sanctioned events be specific to ULS teams only. The way that it's worded right now would maybe lead me to believe that they would have 2 non-ULS teams using their fields because now they're really bright and can handle a lot. And so it wouldn't be ULS WIAA teams playing there. So those would be the 2 changes that I would hope to see if this has to go through. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir, over here. Yes.
My name is Charles Needhofer. My address is 3821 Nagawicka Road. We are right across the street from the proposed lighting and building. We are not in favor of the lighting. The trees are starting to thin out from age or disease at this point, so we can see activities going on in the field over there. The light is going to spill over onto our side of Nagawicka Road. As Michelle said, if it needs to happen, which I don't think it does because it goes against the branding of what ULS is a natural setting with all of the nature and environmental things that they try to teach their children. Possibly moving the lights to the southeast corner of the soccer ball field would get it almost 100 yards away from Nagawicka Road and put the buildings over there also. So we appreciate the fact that ULS has been a good neighbor over there. We've been there for 50 years, and they have been a good neighbor, but they haven't needed it up to now, and if they do need lighting, continue to use the portable lighting that they've used. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir, in the back.
Hello. Gavin Braddock of 3977 Nagawicka Road. I also live right across the street and here to request the denial of the lighting permit. My first point concerns the character of the neighborhood. The proposal for 50-foot or 70-foot stadium lights does not fit the semi-rural dark character of the Nagawicka Road corridor. For context, between Vedelson and Nagawicka Shores Road, there's currently just a few amber streetlights. Delafield's 2030 comprehensive plan calls out the effects of lighting and noise pollution on residents' health, welfare, and the aesthetic value of the neighborhood. My second point is on public safety. Nagawicka Road cannot handle the traffic surges this routine use will cause. With our current events today, they often cannot accommodate parking within their own facility. During a few events last summer, there were dozens of cars parked along Nagawicka Road, all being cited with tickets. Many of those would also use our driveway to make turnarounds looking for parking. This creates a genuine hazard by obstructing sightlines, creating congestion, and restricting emergency vehicle access. Lastly, I just want to address the issue of community transparency. The permit includes a Dear Neighbor outreach letter that was included from the school, yet none of my neighbors on Nagawicka Road ever received that. In the letter, the school describes lighting as being for occasional use, but the operating plan shows that it's going to span between 5 months of the year, 2 to 3 nights every week, and we feel like this is too much. It's not occasional, it's a routine, high-frequency athletic program. The athletic program can keep growing over time, but once these lights are up, it's permanent. So I just urge the commission to deny the request and protect the character of our neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other comments for the proposed lighting at University Lake School? Yes, sir, up front.
Hello, my name's Eli. I'm in favor of the lights.
Could you please provide full name and address,
Oh,
please,
yeah.
for the record?
Elijah James Shanky, N8W33843, Forest Ridge Road, Delafield. I'm in favor of the lights. I'm a student at ULS. I remember every time that we bring lights to the games, the school spirit, like everyone shows up to the games, and it's a lot more fun as a player and as a student at the school. It would really improve my senior year. I tore my ACL last year, and I wasn't able to play. And I'd really appreciate the lights because, you know, it's, for me at least, it's my final year there, and it would just make it a lot better for me and a lot of the other students and other seniors that will come.
Okay. Do you have something to add?
Hi, I'm Sage Sanchez, A51 Lookout Court, Hartford, Wisconsin. I'm also a student at ULS. One thing that brings so much joy to all of our students, especially homecoming night, where we have the lights, and just because it brings more energy, just because it's like dark outside, and just kind of have the same experience as like Arrowhead, just the local public schools with their like big crowds, even though we have a small crowd of maybe like 35 people compared to Arrowhead with 300 people. Just like having like some similarity to a regular public school gives us all a lot of energy, and like our whole school comes out, and we also have like a lot of little kids that look up to all the older kids, and they get to see them play, and it just brings way more energy to University Lake School, and it brings the team spirit up and just makes everyone more happy in our community. Lakers.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Yes, sir, in the back.
Hi, I'm Matt's son. I live on 4009 Nagawicca. We live directly across from the field where the proposed lighting is going to be. I can't really add much more from what other people have stated, but the trees over there, like the pine trees, they are thinning. So I find it very hard to believe that we would have no light impact. So there's nothing else I can add from what other people have said, but I oppose the lighting. I just feel like, just based off of the language that they have, they're going to be having a lot more events there, and it's not going to be just ULS events, and that's a big concern because it's just going to bring more noise and people coming through Nagawicca Drive.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other comments for public hearing number 3? Pardon me?
Do you want the applicants to?
Yeah, if the applicants would like to come back up, and if you have anything to address based on what you've heard, please address some of those points briefly, and then we'll be back on the agenda later in the meeting.
Thank you. And we really appreciate all of our neighbors' input. We did canvass the neighborhood to try to knock on all the doors of those who are affected, those who are our closest neighbors, to make sure we heard concerns and tried our best to make sure that those were incorporated into the plan. We'd love to have a chance for the lighting engineer just to weigh in slightly on some of the facts around how the lighting system and the technology in the lighting system now works to help these fields be usable after 6 p.m., and especially in the winter months, and also not necessarily have any sort of glare into the other spaces. But I'll address just a couple of quick things first. We very much care about being a good neighbor. We, continue to want to have an open door for our neighbors and allow them to enjoy our campus just as much as we enjoy it as well. And we would love to, continue to, make sure that if there's an issue with parking on the roads, we can certainly send out communications more regularly about where to park and make sure that that is sent out there. Our teams are ULS teams who play. Occasionally, we'll have co-op, so technically, because we're such a small school, we don't always have enough players to make up a whole varsity field hockey team, for example, or a middle school soccer team. And so if that's the case, we would have a co-op that might be under a different name of a different school, but it is still a ULS team. So I wouldn't necessarily want to pigeonhole us into, just having specifically ULS teams. However, our intention is this field is for our ULS students and our teammates and those who we're competing against in the division and playing within the divisions. The occasional use, the homecoming, the things like that, those are things that already happen. We have portable lights that are brought in for homecoming right now, so we just wouldn't necessarily have to do that if we had the permanent lights in place. These are actually better because they don't produce extra sound. They actually don't have, I think the portable lights do have glare. These ones won't. So those are just a couple of things where we love to have our neighbors and be good neighbors, and did our best to make this plan work so that they would be taken care of in that regard.
Okay, and do you want to do the technical stuff?
Sure.
Part of the presentation?
Yeah,
Later?
we should incorporate it in the public hearing if you can.
Okay.
Please keep it
Yeah,
brief.
be brief. We'll ask follow-up questions in the later part of the hearing.
Yeah, so my name is Tim Prosek. I'm with Mosco Lighting, the manufacturer and the designer of the lights. I will say these lights meet dark sky compliance. So International Dark Skies has a set of standards that we've designed the system to meet. You mentioned the foot candle measurement at the property line is 0.5 is the requirement. At any property line around the soccer field, we are below 0.001 foot candles, which is virtual darkness. I'd say starlight is almost going to be brighter than what we're producing there. Using 4 70-foot poles, the additional height may sound scary, but it does truly help us control the light down. Each pole has 6 fixtures each with about 27-inch visors that help control that light down. So willing to answer any other questions that pop up, but that's the general narrative on the lighting.
Okay. All right, thank you. You'll be back later. Thanks. So with that, the public hearing number 3 is closed. Public hearing number 4, Planned Development Overlay District, Hillside on Maple, 501 Maple Avenue, DELC 0808-985002, Cedar Square 3 LLC, applicant John Barker. Matters for creation of a planned development overlay district to allow a 16-unit residential condominium development. Amy, why don't you introduce this?
Okay, so this property is located in the southwest corner of Hillside Drive and Maple Avenue. It's 8 acres in size. The property was formerly occupied by an engineering company and other tenants. There are steep slopes throughout the property, so I'll show the image of the slopes. The applicant would like to raise the existing buildings on the property, and they are proposing a 16-unit, single-family residential condominium project. There will be 8 buildings and 2 units per building, with large attached garages and additional visitor parking in front of the garages. There won't be any separate parking lots. The applicant would also like to reserve 38,866 square feet. That's about a third of 3/4 of an acre, a little bit more, in the southwest corner for potential future development of a single-family home if they adjoin it with a neighboring property. So let me see if I can find a map that shows that. So this was a preliminary condominium plat. The outlot will not be part of the, and there's a updated image in the packet, will not be part of the final condominium plat. So they are proposing to exclude that, that triangle in the southwest corner. The development, with the exception of the outlot, will be developed as a, again, condominium plat, which means that each unit will be owner occupied. And the plat and draft covenants and restrictions are included in the packet and are being reviewed by the city attorney. The property is served by sewer and water, and there are several approvals that are required. I have them all listed in the staff report. The public hearing is specific to the plan development overlay, which is required in order to allow multifamily condominium development in the B6 zoning district. This application tonight is inclusive of the general development plan and specific implementation plan, so they are doing both phases at once, and their intent is to start construction as soon as possible. And I do just want to note, as part of the public hearing for any audience that might be here, this site being in the B6 district is actually very flexible, and there really is no formal limit on density. It's the amount of bulk and structures is restricted through floor area ratio, which is 50%. We did have some previous applicants come in, and they were able to fit like over 100 units on this property. So what's being proposed is significantly scaled back from what's previously been proposed. So the development, I showed you the steep slopes. It does include the construction of several retaining walls. Let's see here. Let me just try to move this a little bit. Okay. So it'll require the construction of several walls. Because they will exceed 3 feet in height, they do require engineer approval and your approval as the Plan Commission. They do need to demonstrate that the wall is structurally sound. I should say walls, not wall. And that they will support the adjacent ground, pavement, walks, and nearby structures. The applicant did just submit an engineer certification, which will be reviewed by engineering staff, and was a requirement in order to allow the walls. And then Plan Commission also needs to look at the location and height to ensure that they are harmonious to the principal structure. And I think we talked about this at the last meeting, but for the public's benefit, the walls that are being proposed are the large fieldstone walls that are constructed at the Archon site. So they're very high quality. They'll have an aesthetic look that will match the principal structures that are being proposed as well. As part of the steep slopes, they are required to preserve all natural grades of 25%, and those areas can't be regraded or built on. And I believe we have a map in here that shows those steep slope areas. So the engineer did color code all of the steep slopes red, and they will need to dip into some steep slopes behind buildings 7 and 8, which is where the existing main building is located now. And they will be constructing some retaining walls. That'll be the access point into the buildings. And they're cutting into the slope for the retaining walls. The applicant did do an analysis of that slope and has indicated that they are not natural slopes, that they have been disrupted and disturbed as part of the construction of that original building that was occupied by SEH, and also for the access drive that gets to the existing building in the back. They did submit some pictures that show the disturbance. The city's engineer, who was a prior occupant of the property, agreed that those slopes appear to not be natural. However, they did ask for the applicant to provide some additional supporting information for that. So we would want that before this gets moved on to or considered by council. And then the units are all going to be similar, actually identical to each other in their layout. So what you have is 3,300 square feet finished living space with 1,000 of that square feet on the lower level, and then a 1,620 square foot attached garage for each unit. There will be a few porches or terrace type elements as well to each unit. Lighting is actually quite limited to recessed soffit lighting under the roof, and then also some sconce lights at the entrances to the garage doors and entrances to the main doors. They'll be real subtle with controlled lumens with dimming features as well. Because they are so subtle, a photometric really is not required because there isn't going to be really any trespass. They are proposing a sign at the entrance of Maple Avenue. The sign face itself will be 20 square feet. It will be on a larger structure that then the entire structure will equal 61.75 square feet. I can show you a picture of what that looks like. So this would be the entrance sign. Again, there'll be some subtle uplighting, and I believe I have. So this is what the subtle uplighting will look like in front of the entrance sign. And then I do actually have those sconce lights. This would be I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but the design of the sconce light. I believe both of those lights were not included in the meeting packet. Going back to the materials. They did submit an updated landscape plan since the last meeting. I'll go to that real quick. So they're proposing a mixture of grasses, perennials, shrubs, and some trees around the base of each building and between some of the retaining walls. And then they are also proposing, I believe it's 9 birch trees sporadically placed in the open space areas. And then they are retaining the existing trees that are out there. They did remove some trees in preparation before they applied for any approvals. And the way the city code is written, they have the ability to do that. The remaining open space areas will be planted with a combination of fescue and turf grass seed mixes, and then the stormwater facility will have wildflower seed mixes. And I believe that's kind of it for explaining the development for now. I know we went through this in pretty good detail last month's meeting as well. Anything you want to add?
John Barker, 3875 Kettle Court East in Delafield. Amy, you did a fantastic job. I really have nothing to add other than the 25-degree slope that Brian, the city engineer, had kind of alluded to the fact that it's not a natural slope as well, because it was put in place when the previous building was put there and developed. They had the fill and the backfill, and they just kind of filled it against the back of the building there and sloped the contour. You can tell that it's not something that is, of natural design. It's something that was man-made. And so, again, that doesn't really fit the code's statement of, disturbing a natural. This is unnatural. So we'd ask that, the city take that into consideration and realize that, what we'll be doing is removing that slope that was created unnaturally and then pushing it back to accommodate the driveway for the upper 2 units or 2 buildings, 4 units, and then the retaining wall will hold that back, and like it should, in a similar fashion to the building, how the building holds it back right now.
Okay. With that, why don't you take a seat, and if there's anybody, is there anybody here to speak to public hearing number 4 for the Hillside? For this planned unit development overlay for the Hillside on Maple. Anyone wishing to speak to this? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, our ability to answer it's limited, but we can get the applicant to do it. Let's go. Please come on up.
So do you ask the question or wait?
No, ask it. We don't. There's odd rules. We can't engage in dialogue, but we'll see what you got.
Tammy O'Neill, W301 N1045 McDowell Road. I just have a question about anything in the future, is this set in stone once it's the way it is? Because it's noisy there, and I'm wondering if there's any potential that down the road, the people that are living there say, whew, this is loud, I didn't think it was gonna be so loud, and want something built for noise.
That's a fair question. Anything in addition to this application would be a different application down the road.
Gotcha. Okay, but it's possible
You
that it could come up.
Yeah.
It is
Of
zoned,
course.
the property is zoned B6, and it allows commercial and residential land uses as a permitted use.
We are unable to prevent somebody from asking for something. You know what I mean? It's not to be facetious. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this public hearing? Do you have something to add, Mr. Barker?
I will.
Okay.
John, I think we've got another.
Oh, does anyone else wish to speak to this? Okay. Doesn't seem to be.
I think that's a very valid comment, and I can say that the structure of these buildings, having 12-inch thick concrete walls with foam on both sides, insulation in and out, and the highest grade Marvin laminated glass, you're not going to hear anything. It's going to be like a vault in these things. So I know because, my buildings are right behind it, and they're 12-inch thick concrete walls, and I'm not 100 yards away from the highway, and I can't hear it either. So. But that's a really good, valid point, but that's how we address that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, seeing that, public hearing number 4 is now closed. So now item 8, this is citizens' comments for items other than what's been on the consent agenda. So anything that's been talked about tonight that we have later on the agenda or anything at all? Is anybody here wishing to speak to anything on or off the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, citizens' comments are now closed. Now we'll move on to item 9, unfinished business. Item 9A, 2565 North Genesee Street, owner St. Michael's Anglican Church. Applicant Brad Embry requesting to amend the conditional use site plan and appearance from St. Michael's Anglican Church to raise an existing garage and replace it with a multi-use classroom, gathering, and event facility. This one is, now that I've read it, is postponed till May 27th. So item 9B, DELC 0804982, 2900, 2910, 2912, 16, 20, 26, 30, 40, 48, 50, and 52. This is the shops at Nagawaki to update the existing plan unit development to accommodate the land division. So does anybody on the plan commission, you want to add anything, Amy?
The only thing I think I would like to add is if you recommend approval, well, first of all, this is the first application that is switching over from a plan development conditional use to a plan development overlay district. So I did include a draft ordinance where if you recommend approval, you'd be recommending that Common Council adopt the ordinance. It is subject to a few conditions, so I'd like to just quickly go over that. That would include, except as otherwise expressly provided in this ordinance or approved by the city, the subject property shall remain subject to all provisions contained in all conditional use permits and modifications applicable to the subject property, and the subject property shall remain in compliance with such provisions. Various conditional use permits and modifications are attached for reference as Exhibit C. So all of those CUs are still incorporated in this new overlay. And then the land division of the BJV parcel is subject to all necessary cross-access and parking easements, stormwater maintenance easements, and signage easements being reviewed and approved by city staff. All recordable documents shall be recorded at the same time as the recording of the certified survey map dividing the BJV parcel. And then C, the certified survey map presented to Plan Commission on April 29th, 2026, and is further modified and presented to Common Council on May 18th, 2026, and any related documents shall be recorded within 12 months from the effective date of this ordinance.
As the applicant, is there anything that Amy said there that you object to?
No objection. All those updates were in response to third-party engineer review comments and any internal comments from the city of Delafield.
Okay. Does the Plan Commission have any questions or comments before the
Was
motion?
this covered last, I wasn't here last month. What is the reason for the split? Why two different owners? Because I know you've got the provisions, but there's complexity in managing the parking lot. So what's the reason for two ownerships?
Yeah, Rob Hobick here. My address is 13550 Highwood Drive, Elm Grove, Wisconsin. The idea is to provide flexibility. There's some owners that would like to own just the strip center side. We prefer to own the mid-box retail usually, so that's like the Marshalls, the Sierra, the Home Good.
Yeah.
But the easements that we're talking about will vest the maintenance and operation of the entirety of both parcels with the owner of the mid-box, the Sierra, Home Goods, Marshalls. So you'll have a uniform maintenance program. One of the requirements of the easements is that if we, for instance, resurface the parking lot, the entire parking lot gets resurfaced. It really is meant to be.
Is there contractual, like annual, everybody has to put so much into a fund and
Yeah.
it's contractually documented that way?
Yeah, there'll be percentages based on square footage.
You just don't want separate parties fighting, right? Goes to court, we're not fixing the parking lot, blah, blah.
No, it vests control of the maintenance in one party because that's the easiest way to do it. Have them, it's a larger parcel, so they'll take care of it and then just send the bill out.
Got it, that's it, that's all I had.
Yeah. Anyone care to make a motion? I know Amy's was rather long.
I think my motion is shorter than the conditions I stated. So if you want to read my staff report for a motion, that would be good.
Well, I'll move approval of, you want me to reread? all the-
Only read the first one for the plan development overlay, please.
Okay, so
Do you have it?
the,
Well, the actual motion that I have is amend the plan development in accordance with the enclosed draft.
yes, I was just going to say, recommend approval pursuant to the city planners noted points. I'd be happy to read them out if you'd like.
I think that works. We've got them.
Okay.
I'll second. Second.
Mike's got it. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you all.
Don't leave yet. You have another, you'll have another item.
Okay, item 9C, DLC 0735998, 4024 Nagawicka Road, owner University Lake School, applicant Chris Boudet. Again, this is for the soccer field lighting, so if you wouldn't mind coming back up here.
While the applicant is coming up, they did provide you with new information. The last sheet includes what the bleacher looks like. It's another set of those bleachers. And then they updated their narrative to include the 70-foot tall pole. I believe the original narrative had the 50-foot tall pole.
So unless you have a structure you'd like to start with, I think it'd be really helpful to understand the technology behind how we're not going to have light trespass. And that's obviously the number one concern of the neighbors. And then there's other concerns about noise, traffic, et cetera. So I'd be interested in understand the technology and how you can have this bright field and the people across the street are going to have roast marshmallows in darkness.
Yeah, sure. So Musco Lighting, we've been around 50 years as a sports lighting company, and I would say lighting's come a long, long way. I grew up in a small town. You would, from miles away, be able to tell if the football lights were on because the sky would be glowing. Really, with LED, the technology's totally changed. We're not using these big metal halide lamps anymore. We're using these fixtures with over 100 little LED diodes, and each of these diodes are aimable. They have optics over each one. And we also have a 18 to 27 inch long visor that can completely hide the light source. So you have a tall pole, that steep visor on there. You can have a total cutoff if you're beyond that angle, which is why those 70-foot poles help us here. Me explaining it's one thing. We brought some references we'd be happy to show. I think photos go a long way. We did share this one virtually as well, but I brought it in a foam board. This is Nicolay High School. Their soccer field. You'll actually notice that there are homes very close to this field, but this is lit to the same light level as the proposed field for University Lake and is lit to the same dark sky standards. So just does a good job of, you can see how dark it is directly next to that field. So that's a little bit on the technology, but yeah, if you have any other questions on that. That's the visor and the optics and the LEDs in general are really what's made that change.
So how close to the light pole do you have to be to see the actual fixture and the light emanating from it? So, like you mentioned, the big round ones, you can see that.
Yep.
So where do you have to be located in order to see the actual light in the sky that's pointed down?
Yeah, we could pull that number on our scan exactly on this specific field. I know at 150 feet back from the field, you cannot see that light source, the visor's covering it. It might end up being closer to maybe 70 or 100 feet. You can barely see it, or you can tell it's illuminated, but it's not causing you physical glare. So that's something that we could pull exactly where that cutoff point is, but what I do know is that it's within the property of the campus.
Okay, that's my question. And one more I have. What kind of noise do these generate?
The light poles, light fixtures, it's zero noise, zero. You might be thinking of metal halides with those big ballasts that are humming in the box. Totally different technology. These LEDs run off drivers, and it's essentially, you won't hear a thing.
Okay.
So the lighting source up on top, you have it shielded, or is it just a technology of an LED going down of controlling that bright light in the sky?
Yeah, we do have it shielded. We do actually have an example of what the pole and fixture looks like in the back. I'd be happy to go over there and do a little demonstration if that would be something you'd get value out of. But yeah, it's that long kind of wedge-shaped triangle visor that totally pushes 99% of the light down onto the field.
Where's the power source?
For
the lights, where's the power coming from?
Well, so they're constructing the shed, which is going to house the actual breakers that'll power the system. Otherwise, the LEDs are, we provide a wire harness that goes from from the pole top to about 12 feet up the pole, which is where the drivers are held.
Okay.
So those drivers actually power the fixtures per se, but the shed will house the actual breakers.
And then, we'll be, like, We Energies would end up running us a new service
Oh.
from the utility poles to the shed, so.
So I'm struggling. I understand what you're looking for and how it enhances the quality of school life, et cetera. I'm a curmudgeon when it comes to light, because like welfare is all about, I've written enough articles for the Communicator. It's like, turn off your darn lights. I don't want to see lights. I'd be hypocritical to support it. I have to take your word for it that, I mean, the technology sounds appealing. And again, I'm trying to get away from the mental image of Arrowhead. Two full football fields lit up. I mean, you can see that from where we are. I'm struggling trying to take your word for it, because if it's anything close to any other lighting for any other ball field, I think that's kind of contradictory to what we're looking for. So I'm having a hard time buying the technology being that good. I mean, I go by there all the time, and I know you're running temporary lights, and I know that's not what you're looking for. And I don't live there, but that's never bothered me. I'm just trying to think of what 70-foot tall lights would look like when you're really lighting up the whole field. I guess I'm struggling with it.
Yeah, when do you use the temporary lights? Because I've seen them when I drive by. When do you use them? Because I was just Googling, like October, the sunset is like 7:52, right? That's because you were talking fall soccer, right? So at sunset, it's still a little light. It's not pitch dark, right? So you got to think maybe at 9 o'clock that time of year is when it's pitch dark, I'm thinking. So what are you using the lights for temporary today? Like, when do you get the excitement of the school community going and use the temp lights?
Yeah, so during homecoming every year for homecoming weekend, because we have a lot of games and we have alumni coming onto campus and a lot of school spirit happening.
Yeah.
You can't cram so many games into the daylight, and so we do get lights for those games. They're portable lights that we bring them out.
So are you only
for.
doing that one weekend of fall then, or?
So I know that this past year, they kept the lights on for, the portable lights on the field for a little while longer than that, but it was mainly brought on for homecoming.
Yeah.
For homecoming weekend. And then the WIA requirements are that if the game starts, any of our games that start, like a varsity game that starts at 6 o'clock, it's not even allowed to be on our field because it's too late and because the sun will start to go down. We are also, we have a lot of giant trees around as well,
Yeah.
so we're kind of tucked into a tree line, and so it's just not safe to be out there without the lights, which means most of our games have to be kind of crammed into a smaller time frame, or a lot of our games are away.
Yeah, because I hear your point, but like one of my kids went to Brookfield Academy, which is a similar size school and number of programs, and their fields are not right by somewhat by residential, but not like you guys are. The fields are not used that much at night, other than football, like the Friday night football game, and a little bit with soccer. So you don't have football, do you? This
We
is
don't.
pure soccer.
Soccer and field hockey.
So even if theoretically you had these lights, right, and if they worked, it seems like you're using it a lot. You would use it a lot less than what the document says you have the right to use.
Correct.
Follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So if you literally did what you did today with homecoming and a couple, it's probably not that big a deal. I mean, to the neighbors, it's still a big deal. But it's like 1 or 2 or 5 nights a year. But if you expand it like crazy and you start doing events that aren't part of your school, then you got a problem, right?
Right.
Is what I see as I read through some of this. I wasn't here last month, so coming in a little late. But would you? Why do we have a conditional? What was the history of having a conditional use permit?
The conditional use is required for the school and all the ancillary activities, so that is one piece of this. Right now, there's nothing in the conditional use that allows the temporary lights either, so that's something you might want to consider. If you don't approve the permanent lights, there really should be a process of whether or not the temporary lights are acceptable. That should be part of the CU. So really, any change to the site, requires an amendment to the conditional use permit.
Because what I'm thinking about, how do you solve this problem so both sides win? Because if I'm a neighbor, I'd be up saying I'm against this too, right? But if I have kids at the school, I'd be like, wait a minute, come on, like, this is only a couple times a year. So would you consider like really tightening that conditional use to a very limited amount of time like you do today? Because you're not getting complaints for those temporary lights right now, even though they make noise and are you? From the neighbors?
I don't believe so, but that's one weekend a year. I mean, those are mainly used. The intention of these lights would be so that we can have games that go past 6 p.m. on our campus. And so it wouldn't be 4 to 5 times a year.
Yeah.
It would be, and we were.
But like, when would those lights come on? If October 15th is a sunset of 8,
Right.
and you start a game at 6 or even 7, at what point do those lights flip on, do you think?
We would turn them on at 6 when the game was beginning.
Yeah, okay,
So that the light is consistent for the whole game.
yeah.
And then we would, make sure everyone's out off the field safely. A lot of our families are ready to get home after that.
Yeah.
It's dark out and a lot of them have young kids. And so there's not a lot of lingering around afterwards. So when we put these in place, we were kind of overestimating just to make sure we were covered and that there was a clear understanding of when we could use it. But I mean, we could also limit it to games only and not have practices on there. Most of our practices are actually after school, but sometimes just based on we have 2 soccer fields and 2 field hockey fields, and sometimes those overlap. So occasionally we have to have one later.
I'm just thinking about my kids' Brookfield Academy, and it was like, those were only Friday night games. Like, field hockey was being played at 4, practice was done by 6:30. Like, it was very infrequent that it was lighting it up. And I think that's your use case, but it doesn't come across when you read it. It's almost like a blank check. That's probably why the neighbors are concerned. Starts out simple and grows into a big event.
Yeah, well, and we didn't want to limit it so much that that then we come back later and say, oh, actually, we did decide to start using it for practices because something operationally,
Yeah.
it was.
But you
needed.
could, that if you limit it really tight and you get it in and it's working and the neighbor's like, hey, this really is a dark, then you could always come back and expand it, I guess. But that's just me thinking out loud. I'm not speaking for the commission, just.
Yeah.
Chris, about a week ago, you sent me a list of other examples. Are there any other fields in the near area that have these same light fixtures or similar?
Yeah, we did. So the ones that we sent were probably the most comparable as far as height, light output and all that stuff. There is a couple more local, like the Waukesha South football field, but they're not as comparable. So like to what you were saying is you can picture just a big glowing field and that. So I mean, I didn't know this until recently, but there's essentially 2 different ways you light a field. There's a ground sports and then an air sports. So like football, you have a ball going through the air. So there's actually light that shines from the base of the pole up so that you can see, balls going through the air. Since this is strictly a soccer field, 100% of our light, is the lighting a ball on the ground. So there is no light that, shines vertically anywhere. So these are gonna be, the list here is almost a pole for pole comparison. There is other, lights that do use the cutoff technology, fixtures and stuff like that, but the list we have here is gonna be the most comparable to what we're doing.
The one,
This is the most equivalent.
Yeah, so this picture we have here is essentially what we're asking for, and unless you look at it closely, I mean, right here is a row of houses, and then also right here is another row of houses, so there's, a very sharp cutoff.
From my perspective, I think you've done a admirable job to address legitimate concerns by the community. As far as the technology, I mean, it works or it doesn't. We've had the city engineer and we've had an independent indicate it looks like that. If it doesn't, then that's a problem for some future day. But I can suggest that if we questioned the technology every time someone came in here from experts, we would be having 10-minute meetings because we wouldn't be approving much. So, I mean, I have to take what I'm hearing from the city engineer and from this gentleman at face value. I don't think you falsified the picture. I think it addresses the legitimate concerns of the applicants. I think your parking issue, I think you have enough parking, but it's hard to control people. That's probably a bigger issue you'll have to think through, I think, than the actual lights. But I think it adequately addresses the problem.
Well, and we are full supporters of ticketing people that park by no parking signs. You can't control everybody, and we can tell them where to park, show them where to park, and there's always the person that thinks they deserve to park as close as possible to something when it's clearly not a parking spot. So that's, one of the concerns. I do think it's pretty fair to kind of make a comparison is, we are a commercial property in a residential area, essentially. We're not a house, we're a school. So this is definitely probably a shocking project to a person that owns a house across the street from us, but for comparison, this is essentially, our version of installing a pool or building a fence, or, seems like it's
a little bit. So, we talked about the fact that lighting is I mentioned lighting is one of the concerns. The other one's, noise and intensity of use.
Yep.
So you mentioned commercial property. You're enabling longer hours of operation and longer hours of disruption to the, longer hours of increased traffic on the road, longer hours of noise when people are putting their kids to sleep on a school night in October, when usually on Wednesdays you don't have the games there. So those are the other things, that we need to consider when you're looking at a conditional use, is the use and enjoyment of the neighbor's property, how a change across the street with the hours and intensity of use affects them. Like I moved my family right just north of St. John's Military Academy, when it was a military academy. So I appreciated the fact that they were there. They've got the football field lights. We'd hear them on different days of the week in games. We'd hear them marching, and I think they used to have a cannon when they started up in the morning at sunrise. So I bought into all that. They didn't say, we're going to start having football games and lighting, and we're going to start lighting, shooting a cannon off in the morning. This was, I kind of knew what I was getting into. So that's something we have to consider as far as what, if any, imposition we're putting on the neighbors as far as what they know was a steady state across the street versus what kind of change that they're going to be dealing with. So that's just, like I said, the lights is one.
Yep.
I kind of trust the technology. I believe you're still going to get, light doesn't just go down and stop. I mean, it's going to reflect. So you're going to get there's got to be some, well, maybe not. Sorry, Scott, you just said, don't question.
No, there's got to, there's got to be, and if the trees are thinning, the light will come through the
Someone's got to
trees
watch, it's going to reflect
yeah.
off the face. But anyway, so that's something to consider too, is what this does for the average Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night when you might have the games when you otherwise wouldn't.
Yeah, and I'm bringing this up because unless there's ulterior motives, knowing that you don't have football, do you have baseball? I mean, you got all these sports that uses these fields often in practices that you're probably not using it that much more than you're using it now. Like I think that would be my recommendation, is just limit it a lot, and it still meets your needs. Because it doesn't sound like you're changing your mode of operation that much in terms of its usage.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is we're spreading out. We're able to have more home games.
I guess that's a fair point. But you're talking about how many soccer games in a season?
Right. I mean,
10, so you have 5 at home, 5 away?
9, 10.
Yeah, so you have one home game now, you're gonna have 5 next fall, right? So you're talking again, you're talking about like 5 to 7 nights of lights. If that's truly your intent, right?
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
not that much.
It's not that much, and I do anticipate the kids will want to use the lights for practices occasionally, which is why we were just kind of covering our bases to make sure, or PE might have an event. We have homecoming weekend, but most of the time those fields after 8 o'clock are quiet, and they still will be quiet and dark.
So realistically, you have a good plan for the parking, because that's obviously, with more games and the neighbors especially, there's a big concern for that. So you have something in place that you want to do for sure with the parking on site?
Yeah, so we do feel we have adequate parking. I think this is kind of, been interpreted by the neighbors as us expanding our offerings. It's not as much of an expansion as, spacing out. So right now we have a 3-hour period to have 4 games a night. So you end up having, a big flow of cars coming in all at the same time, all leaving at the same time. If we're able to spread it out a few nights a week, it actually reduces the demand on our parking and, traffic and stuff like that, because now it's going to be spread over a 5-hour period instead of a 3-hour period. So, we don't run short on parking. We run short on, good listeners that park where they should park. So, campus-wide, I think we're able to hold over 300 cars. And it's, out of essentially everyone's control to get someone to park, where they should park. But in reality, this will end up giving us more parking at any given time, because we're not as condensed to a time frame with the same amount of activities. So this doesn't add any more games a year. It doesn't, increase the demand on the field. It just expands our time offerings that we can, play on them.
And there are some things we can do. I mean, we can continue to communicate every time we have, especially guests on campus. Sometimes it's a matter of guests who don't know their way around our campus, who end up parking outside of normal parking spots. And so just increasing communication as well as signage. We're happy to install parking signage and wayfinding signage to help people through our campus to make sure they know where to park.
Amy, somebody made some mention of 10, and then you said there's something written about 9. What's the right, there's a cutoff time?
The time? They did propose 9 PM. I put in my potential conditions 10 PM, but I did talk to the applicant, and they're willing to reduce it to 9.
Yeah, I mean, just to get us talking, or to, I hear you. LEDs, though, I've got a brother that's a R&D for LED engineering, and it is amazing how it's different. But you're still going to get the reflection, in my view, of if the trees are thin, you're going to see light, right? You can't, and then if you're a neighbor, you're going to see it. But if you do what you're doing today and you shut it down at 9, it seems like this is not as much of an event for the neighbors. I live on Nagawicka too. Granted, I live on the far end, so I don't live across from it, but it doesn't feel like it would be that much different than you bringing in some of these mobile lights at times. But that's just me.
I would like to make a comment on the trees, because I've heard it brought up a few times. All of the photometrics and calculations done assumed there were no trees there around the entire property. So if you cut all those trees down, that's what you're gonna get. So anything the trees do cover is, I consider additional blockage to what's out there. So just to clarify that point, our calculations assume no trees at all. So something else to consider. And I did measure the heights of the trees just so the residents understand what we're talking about with 70-foot poles. Between 75 and 85 feet is roughly the average I was getting, just using a rangefinder, not an official measurement, but I would understand that the poles are gonna be slightly below the top of the tree line. So just some comments on the trees there.
And I know there was some, worry about the age of the trees. We, you know, essentially we have a whole set of that, you know, our perimeter is essentially the pine trees and kind of known for that. And our goal is to maintain a tree line. We have already in, you know, probably about almost 10 years ago now, planted an additional row to kind of start coming up. So it's, I know that, you know, trees don't last forever, but, you know, our hope is to never have a bare property line that Nagawicca is, you know, what borders the field. So, you know, there's about 60 years behind the trees that are there now, but, you know, we do intend on maintaining a tree line for, you know, we're known for our pine trees, so it's part of our logo and not going anywhere anytime soon, so.
I'll make a motion to approve pursuant to the 10 requirements of the city planner with the amendment of changing 10 PM to 9 PM for the light shut off.
Did you want any clarification on the WIAA sanctioned events?
Can I, before we make a motion, can I just ask us, is it sufficiently limited not to be Monday through Saturday, 6 games a night till 9 o'clock, 10 months out of the year? Like I don't know their usage, so I don't want to get into those weeds, but is it too much of a blank check of usage?
Their business plan of operation says 2 to 3 evenings per week, April through May and August through October, and during events such as homecomings and sports playoffs. I could add that to the conditions, or if you want to be more restrictive, you could be more restrictive. There's not really a condition on, I just say they shall be used seasonally with usage limited to the months of April through May and August through October. So you could add those no more than 2 or 3 times a week too, if you wanted.
Amy, what are you referring to, or what are you trying to highlight relative to point 8?
To point 8. There was a public comment regarding whether or not WIA sanctioned events meant that like two schools that may not have lights could play there without the University Lake School's involvement. So you might want to say ULS affiliated. Does that make sense? Affiliated sanctioned events?
Well, I'm not sure that would.
Does it?
I don't know if that would cover what you're trying to, and I think what makes sense.
Participant with University Lake School participants?
Exclusive for the university participation use.
Yeah, the only comment the applicant mentioned, they have those co-op
Right,
teams.
that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
That's still, it's still their team, they just have to recruit members to have a full team. So, I mean, you probably could do a better job than I could with the wording, but I think that makes sense.
Just for the reference, so you guys understand, I probably moved here 5 years ago. I got out this commission. One of the first meetings, there was like an hour discussion about lights. And I'm like, what the heck? Lights? What are we talking about? Our culture is the country and dark, right? And the peaceful. So it's this, while it might seem like, what are these? This is like a big deal. That's why we're struggling, because even the Commodore, when that whole, right, the lighting discussion about what that Commodore sign could look like at the top of the hill. Like, no lights, even for the Commodore, right? So it's a big cultural thing for us.
Yeah, no, we get that too. I mean, we don't have a lot of lights on our campus. Our campus is pretty dark at night, so much so that sometimes we get complaints that it's too dark when teachers are leaving late and there's not enough light in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to strike a balance, which is why this really is a limited use field. We're not lighting up the. There's 4 fields right there. This is one field. It's for really our main 2 teams. We have a varsity soccer team. We have a JV soccer team. Occasionally we'll use it for others, but we're not a big school. We don't have, we don't have 8 different teams who are playing on this field, and they will be ULS teams. So
Amy, one suggestion for 8 would be for the exclusive use for ULS team participation.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
So-
adding that in?
Yes.
So you had, you did, did you capture the motion that he started? Or you want to start over?
About 20 minutes ago.
Why don't you start over, Scott?
Okay. I move approval of the application pursuant to the 10 points listed by the city planner, but modifying number 6 to 9 PM from 10 PM, and modifying number 8 to the exclusive use for ULS team participation.
Did you want to include 2 to 3 times?
Oh, isn't that already there?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so.
And that'd be in number 6, right?
Yeah, add it to
by
6.
10
Add it to 6.
10 PM, and be limited to 2 to 3 times per week. Is that what we're saying?
And the lights have to go off at 9?
Yep.
I second that.
Is there any more discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Abstentions? It was Mike. Okay, motion passes. Work with city staff on implementation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, item 9D, DLC 0808985002, 501 Maple Avenue. Mr. Barker.
I was torn.
You want me to keep going? I'm gonna, so I don't really have anything to add from the public hearing, other than, in the staff report, there is a list of criteria that they need to meet in order to get a plan development overlay district. I think I may have gone through that list of criteria, at the last month's meeting. But you do want to make sure that they're, protecting natural features that are determined to warrant preservation, that existing mature vegetation and natural topography are being preserved to the greatest extent possible. It is a really steep property. I think they are trying to maintain the existing slopes by putting in the retaining walls. But if you haven't been out there, there are different ledges, and that's kind of how they're trying to fit in these buildings into the different ledges. The character and intensity of the proposed development must be compatible with existing and planned land uses on nearby and adjoining properties. The reduction in lot area, lot width, or building setbacks can be considered. It carries on, but they are not proposing any reductions, so you don't have to worry about that one. The proposed development must not result in diminishment of property values of adjoining or nearby properties. Existing and planned street and highway improvements are adequate to handle the projected volumes of traffic generated by the proposed development, and there is adequate capacity in the public sanitary sewer and stormwater sewer system to handle the project demand. And the proposed circulation system and design and layout of utilities has taken into account existing and potential streets and utility systems on adjoining parcels. And I should add, the engineering staff has been working with the project engineer because there is potential development of, if you'll remember, the gun club to the south, and then the adjacent property is owned by Askren. He had come in at one point for a wrestling academy, so that is part of the discussion with engineering staff. And then there's a proposed motion in the report, right? This motion is just for the plan development and site plan and appearance.
Well, you're saying it's just for that, that's for,
Only, there's 3 separate motions on here, but for this agenda item, you only want to look at the first motion.
right, okay, all right, because that's the big one, that's saying this is a go.
Yes,
Right.
that's right.
Does anyone have any questions about the proposal?
Oh, and I'm just going to keep going. This meeting isn't long enough. The conditions are in the plan development. There is a draft plan development overlay district ordinance, so I do have a list of conditions in there. And by the way, one of them is that the petitioner has to demonstrate that they're not regrading or building on the steep slopes with a natural grade of 25%. That'll be determined by the engineer.
That is correct, Amy. That's the only one on the very back side, on the upper two buildings on the very southwest corner of that. That's that one area I'd spoken about, that the current building sits right there at that spot, and it has like an unnatural backfill to it. That's the only one that's 25 degrees, but it's not natural. And just as a side note, we are not importing or exporting any material off the site. We're getting a closed site, meaning we will use all of the material that we take out and put it down on the lower part of the property to elevate it so that you get just better views of the lake and everything from all of the buildings that are being proposed on the site. The only thing we will bring in is the stone that would be required to do the backfilling of the walls along with the foundations and footings. That's,
we are also bringing in the engineering team for, just to decipher just to basically do a sample of that backfill of the building to make sure that it was not native.
Yeah.
So we are doing that too. So.
Yeah. As well as the retaining walls, we did a global stability analysis on those. It was completed yesterday, actually. We had to do it rather quickly, but $8,500 later, they all passed beautifully. So those walls will definitely hold up a lot longer than I'll be here for sure. So they're just like the walls at Archon that you've seen, the big, tall, outcropping walls that look like they come out of the quarry, just nice and big and clean.
So you're looking for a motion on the plan development, site plan and appearance?
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion. To approve the plan development, site plan appearance, and I'm not going to read all of it, but basically the notes that Amy has under motion 1, unless you want me to read all of it.
In accordance with the staff report.
In accordance with the staff report.
Second.
And does this part need to go to count? It does?
Yes.
So it is going to, sending it to council as part of this. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay, or abstentions? Okay, the GDP and SIP are approved. Next item is.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Well,
Hold on.
we got 2 more.
Hold on.
You're not
Got
done
2
yet.
more.
We have a survey map and a signage.
Okay. Oh, good.
Oh, we're
Perfect.
still getting through the old business. You got to sit
Yeah,
down
there's
and come back up.
yeah, there's a couple
This is a
people in
very
front of us.
strange
Yeah,
agenda.
no,
We
we saw
don't
that.
usually
There's a
make
couple
people
people
come
ahead.
back and forth.
We'll be all right with that.
Appreciate your patience, though.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, gotcha, okay. All right, item 10D, DLC 0796994, 112 South Cushing Park Road, Robert and Claire Waduli. Feedback, public hearing, oh, no? Are we doing that now? Or did I miss this?
You are on, you are on 10A, right?
No.
Sorry.
No.
It's the rezone.
9E.
E.
Request to approve the rezone.
9E, I'm sorry, I was jumping to 10. Okay, so this is item 9E. This is to rezone this property from AE exclusive to AE1. The A1, I mean.
A1.
Yeah, I mean, with no objections, right, from public or commentary, is there anything to talk about?
It seems pretty straightforward from what
Yeah.
Amy,
This is, it's, as far as Amy's explanation, this is essentially mischaracterized as far as the use, but it does expand the use a little bit into residential 3-acre parcels if that were the direction someone were to go, but that's not what we're gonna hear.
I move that this commission recommended the council that they adopt the enclosed ordinance that amends the zoning district on the subject property from A1E to A1, subject to the enclosed ordinance.
second.
Any discussion or questions on this? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay, or abstentions? Okay, we're recommending that we're gonna rezone your property, so that's going to the council. All right. Okay,
And you have to sit down and come back
Yeah.
up too. Everyone's coming back a couple of times.
Nobody leaves.
this is how
Everybody
this
has to
works.
sit down 3 times.
Now we're back to Gulf Road. Is this right? Okay.
Yep.
DLC 0804982. I feel like deja vu. Okay, this is for Nagawaki Group.
Make them give their
To
name again,
Accept,
their full address.
accept the
Your social
certified survey
security
map
number,
to divide
your
it into two
birthday.
parcels.
Long time no see.
Okay, so this is just to approve the certified survey map to split the two properties. The applicant has already complied with all of the surveyor comments, and then I believe I just had a comment about the signature sheet having the correct mayoral name, and I think the clerk's name is wrong. So they just have to do that before common council, and then it can move forward.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the certified survey map with the conditions that are listed in here in the packet.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, or abstentions? Okay, approved.
Thank you.
Are
Thank
we
you all
done
very
now?
much.
You can leave now.
You're done.
If you want, or you can stay.
Okay. So now we're on to 10B. Mr. Barker again. So we've got two items in a row for you. First one is approval of a certified survey map to create an outlot. So explain why we're creating an outlot, Amy.
Okay, so the outlot is being proposed so that the applicant can use that part so he might build a single-family home in that outlot area, but he can only do it if he adjoins it to a neighboring property because that outlot does not abut a public road. So one of the conditions on the review is that they have to put a note on the CSM that says it's not a buildable lot until it does abut a public road. And it would require review and approval from the Common Council with the recommendation from Plan Commission in order to do that, because it would require another CSM.
Just again, a note, remember, why?
You'd have to come up and look at it. My current property adjoins the SEH property, and that triangle, it looks funny on a map, but when you stand on it in person, it really shouldn't be there. It shouldn't, the people who drew those lines years ago really, I don't know, it's questionable. And so I would like to, based on the height that that current triangle is, it's the highest point. It's sitting at 1090. The other buildings proposed are 1062, 1063. So you're 30, there's 27 feet higher. So you are going to look clearly over the top of them, like I currently look over the top of the SCH building from the storage building. I look over it from my office. And so it just kind of terraces down. That triangle is kind of right, it adjoins the Askren property, which would be just to the south of this proposal. And Ben and I have had numerous conversations about him potentially selling it down the road or something like that. So when he gets to the point in time where he wants to do that, I'll buy that. And then I'll have that joined to that triangle, and then I won't just have his 10 acres, I'll have 11 acres or just about. Then I'll build something really pretty up there for myself.
Okay,
Maybe.
that's fine.
Maybe. I mean, it's all potential.
But nothing's going up there anytime soon.
Not even could. It wouldn't even be close.
It's unbuildable until.
Right.
Correct. It is an
And we can't-
unbuildable.
Which just made me wonder, were we getting
Correct,
around
right,
something?
Right,
Okay.
yeah,
That
you'd
make-
have to add it to, like, say, Ben has 10 acres, but he came to you guys maybe 5 years ago and you separated it and gave it two different CSMs. One is a 5 acre, it's kind of an L-shaped lot. The other one that his house sits on is 5 acres and it's more of a rectangle. I mean, even if he wants to sell me the rectangle, or the L shape, I'd take that because I could bring access off Maple, a long driveway, and have a beautiful parcel. And yeah, be kind of nice, but
Got it.
something to do in the future.
Okay, thanks.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
So there are a few conditions in the staff report. The motion is just subject to engineer and planner conditions being met, but if you look into the staff report, there's a few. You know, one of the items is that as part of the development, the CSM will have to be recorded prior to the condominium plat, because the condominium plat does not include this outlot. So it has to all happen incrementally.
Wants to approve a CSM.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the CSM, recommend approval of the certified survey map to create an outlet subject to compliance with all engineering, surveyor, and planner comments prior to consideration by the Common Council.
Second.
So Dirk had the second. Any discussion, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Or abstentions? Okay, we've got a CSM going to council. Now, next item, 10C, 501 Maple again. This is, I'd say it's the easy one, but we like signs as much as light. Amy, this is just a sign as presented, it meets the square footage and that requirement?
Yeah, so normally I have I wanted to put this dimension one on it, so it's not the pretty colored one, although there's a small colored image. So if you were in a residential district adjacent to a subdivision, you're limited to 20 square feet. Their sign face is 20 square feet, but then they have a bigger stone surround, monument around it. Because they're zone B6, the regulations are quite a bit different. So it's really part of what you think is appropriate for the plan unit development, because they can have quite a large sign in B6. So in this case, again, it is the 20 square feet, but once you add all of the elements, if you include all of it together, it's I have my reports are all over 60-some square feet. And it is, the full width is 12 feet, and it's a little less than 5 feet in height. But the sign itself, the sign face is 8 feet wide by 2.5 feet tall. And then there is that subtle uplighting as well. And then the sign would be at the base of the road, and it is likely going to be within the setback area, and Plan Commission does, have to approve signs within the setback area. Otherwise, they have to meet the same setback as a building, which is, I think, in general, kind of hard for folks to be able to meet because the physical road is much further than the right-of-way.
It's a very nice-looking sign. Do you need it quite that large?
Technically, no. I guess we're just trying to stick with the aesthetics of what the whole community is going to look like. It's going to have quite I'd say a pretty wild presence. It's going to look modern and very timeless. It's going to have natural beauty like the stonework. The metal will match the homes themselves. So I figured when you're going to spend the kind of money these people are going to want to spend to live at this community, they probably want something that looks kind of substantial. 12 feet wide, I mean.
Is this a table? It's this table.
Yeah, maybe a little longer. This is probably 10 foot. Yeah, maybe a little longer than that. Well, let's see.
It is at the base of the
about
hill
12 foot.
too, so,
Yeah.
the backdrop is going up behind it. It's not
Yeah.
like up on a hill on its own.
It's kind of going to blend in, I would imagine, quite a bit. And it's going to be on the right-hand side of the entrance, so your focal point is probably going to be more towards the entrance itself and to stay on the pavement. And then, what do we have here? Well, we've got these homes, so, yeah. I mean, I guess the sign itself is within that 20-foot and 8 feet that says the hillside on Maple. I think that's about right. I think we just went a little bit more, 8 feet plus 2 and 2 on each side gives you the 12. So it's kind of, the overall, hillside on Maple is the 8 foot of it. We just kind of wanted to balance it and have it,
I bet that the Heartland Sportsman's Club sign that's been there for 50 years is bigger.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt
It
it.
Pretty massive.
It is.
Yeah, it is a pretty big one.
And that's
Yeah.
going away at some point.
True, yeah, right.
But if you look at the signs, even for Brew House and some of the businesses on that road, they're probably as big.
Yeah, I would think they'd have to be, yeah, I would think so. And
sounds
we're
big.
actually on.
So it's not like out of compatibility.
Right, yeah.
There's not a general theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You've got this town of Delafield Town Hall is across the street.
Correct.
Yeah.
To the east, and
Right.
they certainly have signage and fire engines coming and going.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
but whether or not it fits in is really the key here.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, I like the aesthetics of it, so I'm going to make a motion to approve the signage as presented within the road setback. The sign shall not be installed unless the proposed development is in construction or,
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense, very good.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, or abstentions? Okay, we have a sign too,
Thank you, guys.
contingent upon everything else.
Gotcha, thank you. And when does that happen? When's it contingent on everything?
This is your
I know.
go-to person here.
She's been doing great. Thank you,
Our
guys.
concierge.
Thank everyone.
Okay, Item 10D, new business, 112 South Cushing Park Road, Robert and Claire Waduli. Hi, Bob. What are we talking about here tonight now?
Okay, so the applicant would like, so the rezone needs to go to common council. He can't apply for a conditional use until the property is officially rezoned to a district that allows any uses other than agricultural. So this application, or tonight's meeting, I guess, would be for you to give him any additional feedback and determine what, if anything additional you need or specific you need before he should pursue a conditional use. So the conditional use that he would like to pursue is the one similar to, well, the same CU that Bonnie Knopf just applied for the farmer's market. So it's actually an artisan and craft fair shop conditional use that allows him to have the sale and production of goods, whether they are made on the property or made off-site and brought to the property. And so that would allow the roadside stand. So if we want to just because I know there's people here that probably want to know a little bit about this and we're not at the last meeting. But and my computer's freezing a little bit, in the very southwest corner, there is here I can zoom into this, a section where they want to have a roadside stand, a coffee truck, and some additional bicycle, horse parking, picnic tables. They can have the roadside stand with the zone, as a permitted use. They can't have the coffee truck without the conditional use in place. But that you probably don't need, he probably doesn't need to submit any additional information for this piece of it, other than what he has supplied so far. Unless you require the parking lot, then we gotta get into the parking requirements, and then the engineer might require stormwater management. And then I think, as far as other businesses you wanna propose this year, the winery or the vineyard and the dahlia or other flowers, you're just starting to plant them this year. You aren't proposing the business operations related to it, correct?
Oh, you can just press it and then.
Sorry, yep. Robert Waduli, 112 South Cushing Park Road. We're trying to do the U-pick dahlias. So the dahlias we tilled the rows this past week, and the dahlias are in the basement of the house. So the dahlias are going to go in the ground. We hope to be able to do the U-pick flower operations, and then also be able to sell the bouquets in that roadside stand there. The vineyard won't be planted until next year. So this year it will just be the flowers.
Okay, so you pick the roadside stand and coffee truck. Are you proposing the truck in the back by the flowers?
Yeah, the beer and the wine trailer, yes.
This year?
Yes, yep.
And then, what about the entertainment?
The music?
Yes.
Yes.
This year?
Yes.
Okay. So, what else do you need in order for him to pursue that conditional use? These are difficult because it's hard to narrow down exactly what they're trying to do in the hours, but I think we would need a detailed business plan of operation from you that explains when the hours that you would operate, how frequently you would operate. And then he did submit somewhat of it was done quite well. He did his own CAD drawing of a site plan that showed the location of the parking and improvements. So he's looking to schedule a public hearing for the conditional use. And so I think he's just looking for feedback.
Can I add some context on the parking? Just because I know that's something that has come up a lot, that the initial, so all the 3D images that you have that northwest quadrant of the property here. I got my pointer. Let's see if I can get this to work here. This way. The northwest corner of the property here, it's about 2.5 acres. In the 3D mock-ups that we all put those together, those were all, that was covered in black walnuts. Those black walnuts are gone because if we want to do vineyard up here, they have to be gone for at least 2 years before the grapes will have a chance at growing. So the black walnuts are gone, and this whole field is nice and flat now, and we're rolling it to be able to have overflow parking there if we need it. And that part of this whole endeavor is a big, almost data examination of how many people show up, what does it look like, and then in preceding years, sounds like in a year, we'll revisit the whole topic again to really narrow down how many people showed up, what happened, and carry on that way.
And I don't know, I mean, one option is you might want to control the amount of traffic that comes and goes from the property as part of this as well. Because the hard part is, I mean, if your property fills up with cars, it's probably going to be a little too intense for the neighborhood. And that's the hard part is you don't know how popular it will be.
How do you control it? Right? How do you control it? So that's important to understand, and like you said, that's part of the reason when we talked, we suggested that this would be something that would need to be up for annual renewal so we could learn from the realities of the business. I mean, anything that you do, we want to be, everyone wants it to be successful, but also not disruptive to the neighbors. And as a part of going in, what we're doing here is we're trying to give you feedback so that we can clearly define what the public hearing information is going to look like when we schedule that. So that neighbors can have certain guarantees, because unlike the school, they're modifying something that's been there forever. This is a new use where people are used to a 100-plus-year-old farm. And so I encourage you to, however, reach out and have very, very open discussions with any of the neighbors, and I can work with Amy and make sure you get any communication that's sent to our clerk, the email or anything else, because we've gotten some very good feedback about people's legitimate concerns about what something might look like, and you need to take care of those.
We had a barbecue with the neighbors across the street on Monday because it was Cameron's birthday. So we sent invites out to the same people that got the mailers for this hearing.
Okay.
And so we had 2 of the families come. One of them couldn't make it because they were camping, but they wanted to come. And that was well received. Their concern is that street parking. Everybody, it sounds like, in the neighborhood is very concerned about that street parking. So that, to me, is something that I'm neither here nor there how that shakes out. I know we'll have plenty of overflow parking to be able to hopefully direct people off of that street to wind up on our property. And if the city wants to make it no parking in front of the property, that's fine by me. If that can help make the neighbors happier that all the cars are on our property and down the hill and out of sight, then I'm totally open with that. So we can definitely talk about that later. But hopefully we can help the situation out there.
Mm-hmm.
The only other suggestion I would have is somehow address music level. I don't know if you use decibels or, I know you mentioned it's going to be kind of what I'll call easy music, but I think that's something people might be concerned about.
Yeah, if there's a way to, the freeway's right there, so to measure the music noise over the freeway to get the overall decibel count, I don't know what that would look like, but the gist there is it's a tranquil place, and we don't want it. I'm never going to charge tickets for concerts. It's never going to be a live music or a concert venue. This is going to be a place for background music. And thinking about it, my son is 4 years old and he's in a youth music group in California. We're military, by the way. We live in California. My cousin lives at the property, but we love Delafield. Our sister-in-law is in the back. She lives over by Cushing Park. This is a community thing. This is a place for people to gather, and so it would be really neat to team up with the local youth music group to be able to have them come out and do some performances here and there. But it's never, we've lost the vibe if it becomes a party spot. That is not the intent. It's supposed to be a place where people can come together, get together, have a glass of wine, listen to some background music, not be there for the music. Take in the beauty of the farm. It's a beautiful place. Dwayne, the previous owner's in the audience back here too. Thanks for sticking it out, Dwayne. We had him over earlier today and walked the property, and he was telling us about all the flowers that are out there too. And we really want the family to be, it's not about Claire and I. I truly want to be able to tell the story of the property. And I want to showcase it. It's a beautiful property in a beautiful place. That barn and that property have history. And so we want to be able to tell the story there and have it be a place people can get together, appreciate the history, learn some things. Dwayne's working on a book on the history of the farm, so that'll be part of it too. And we've got a lot of old implements. He was telling us about today that some of them were out and they actually graded the road in front of the property way back when the farmers took care of their own roads. And so I'd love to be able to put little plaques by those pieces of equipment to show what they've done and be able to showcase things that way. So it's really not it's not going to be a party place, and if that's what it becomes, we've lost the soul of it. That's not the intent.
Bob, and then the hobbyist area, are you proposing to get that?
Yeah, so the hobbyist area, so also Dave Cicero in the back has a Tim Farm kiln t-shirt on. Just right there. Those are the kilns that are on the property. So Dwayne was really big in the ceramics community, and there's some really old, not really old, but there's some old kilns there that the hobby element of this is not meant to be a sales thing. It's more of an educational thing and getting people to rub shoulders with people that are in that craft, in that hobby. And so it's more of a background ordeal where, people are there to probably have a glass of wine, get together with friends, and then in the background is a certain hobby group, whether that's the ceramics folks, or we're talking with the first weekend that we'd like to open up is potentially, if things work out right, it'd be the first week in August, and so kind of starting to put some feelers out there with the Friends of Lapham Peak to have them be part of that first weekend, have them be able to set a little tent up to be able to recruit volunteers and teach people about the state park. That's there because they're a treasure trove of knowledge. Same thing with the Ice Age Trail group there too. So that's maybe not a hobby necessarily, but a group that can benefit from a lot of people in one place that could also then, that could just spread knowledge and learn. It's not meant to be a big sales place. It's have people come and learn a craft.
So I think what I would recommend, I think what's missing to move forward, because there's a lot of nice imagery and pictures, and I think you get a pretty good idea of what it might look like. But is really, I think you need to detail your business plan as much as you can, and maybe get specific about the type of amplification you would propose with the music, and maybe controlled, the decibel levels will be hard. And then just the hours of each element as far as frequency, and I don't know if there's a way for you to control the number of
we definitely could.
that come.
Yep. So I was thinking about that, right? And we obviously want people to be there because we got to survive. But at the same time, if it gets to be too crazy, there are things we can do, like we can charge for a parking ticket for people to park on the property, and then that gives them access to the property, and then we can limit those tickets. Kind of like a ski resort has paid parking or things like that. So we can limit, if it ever became that intense, there are things we can do to limit that, but we don't know what it's going to be yet necessarily.
So to schedule a public hearing in May, let's just say, we would need to have a complete submittal for the public packet next week already. And then the rezone needs to go to Common Council in mid-May as well. So I feel like June might be a better if you're trying to open in August.
That would be the goal, yes.
June might be a better public hearing date. It'll give us time to work together, give you an opportunity to work with the neighbors a little bit more. And then, but if the Plan Commission scheduled that tonight, then he would be able to skip coming into town next month just for the scheduling.
Well, I'll be here next month. That's the thing. I'm here. I got here at 7 a.m. on Monday, and I'll be here through June 5th, and we're working on the land.
Okay. If you think you can get everything done,
I can. I'll get it done.
Yeah. But you have. I have to have it posted to the paper on Tuesday.
I can, so just a more detailed business plan than the one that I submitted, which that's a short, abbreviated 1.5 page thing, but it still lists the hours and it lists when we'd probably want, when we'd want to do, or have the ability, let's say, to do the music. It lists the hours for the coffee garden, lists the hours for the UPIC. It lists the hours for when we'd, I think, do this music. It talks about when the music would happen,
So I
but
think the music you have on here, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays.
Yep.
I have a typo, but to end at, and end at or before 10 PM. So they're like, when would it start? 2 would probably be good. Does that mean if it's 10 PM, it might be getting dark out? Do you have to have lighting as well to help guide people? Is there anything else? I'm just trying to come up with more information for you all to look at. Is there anything else you think is missing, Plan Commissioners? The hobbyist thing, I do think they're understanding the structure element a little bit better. So I think you said you'll be using a tent for now until you know the building is workable.
yeah, and it depends upon the hobby group, what their needs may be, and it may shift kind of throughout the property. As an example, the kilns are right off of the metal shed building that's to the south of the furthest east parking lot. That gray rectangle is where the kilns are. So let's say that's the weekend the ceramic folks are there, then that's where that tent might be set up. And if it's a group like, let's say, the equestrian folks come by, then maybe there's a tent set up somewhere else on the property. So and they might have more of a need for coverage than others, or they might not need any coverage.
So I think the Plan Commission's gonna wanna know, as part of this, maximum number of tents at any given time, and
Okay.
maybe the maximum size of tents. You don't wanna turn into a circus property.
Sure, okay, fair enough, yeah.
That would probably be, an element. And then I know the southwest corner, he's got hours to include Monday through Friday, 6 AM to 10 AM, Saturday and Sunday, 6 AM to 1 PM, Monday, or May through November. And then I know you've got other potential activities, dog park, gathering space around fire rings, playground, future winter operations. We probably
The winter operations, we can just drop off of that right now, because I would imagine that would change the conditional use anyways, and when it comes time for that, if things work out right, I think we would have to do a revisit anyways. We don't have any capacity to have people out there in the winter right now.
Yeah, it'd be very helpful to narrow it down to specifically what this year is going to look like. And like Amy said, locations, sizes of any permanent or temporary structures that are going up, a tent or whatever it is, and what the size, so that we can get a vision in our head and the neighbors can understand. They drive by or stop in, what are they going to look at when they're on the road? Because they're used to looking at like a rustic farm and
So
much else right
really nothing is visible from South Cushing Park Road.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
but lay it out and demonstrate, we need to have people understand that.
Sure. The best I can do is those 3D renderings are there, and I haven't altered really any of that.
Okay.
So I don't know how
Example would be
else
like
to.
6 AM. If I'm a neighbor, like, why 6 AM? What's going on at 6 to 7?
So that's just, as I put in the document, it's just the coffee garden that's open at 6 AM, just in that front corner of the parking. And that's what it will look like, minus the green coffee trailer. Our coffee trailer will have a floral wrap, basically, to kind of fit the flower theme.
Bob, would you consider maybe starting at 8 AM? I mean,
For
the coffee?
Whatever works with folks. I just we got a camera sitting out there to watch the corner just to see what the traffic is like.
Sure.
And people are out there at that little parking lot and filling up the street too, well before 8 AM. So the thought was, if there's people there that are there currently, and if there is coffee there, they can park at our lot. That's why there's a little trail that connects from our parking lot down there, but they can also take the Ice Age Trail down over that direction too. But we will definitely have signage on our side of the property, and if the city's okay with it, we could put it in the right-of-way there that directs overflow parking or says parking available. this direction. And so the thought was hopefully we could catch the early goers to have a cup of coffee or grab a bouquet on their way out.
Okay.
I agree with what you said, though. The key is get with all the neighbors. If you have a public hearing and there's no neighbor objection, it's a lot easier, right?
Yeah. And yeah, we did the barbecue invite thing Monday, and then we've gone door to door and said hello. So, and their concerns really are the parking. And that predates us though too. That street has had a lot of I don't know, conflict, I guess, drama in the past, and for us. If people are parking on our property instead of on the street, then that works for us because the street is cleaner and people have to trek through the property and then wind up hopefully maybe buying a bouquet.
All right, so we're looking to schedule a public hearing in May. Is that what we're?
If that's what you want to
You're
do.
gonna be ready?
Yeah, just let me know, what else I got to do. I will.
I will just warn you, I am on vacation starting at 5 a.m. tomorrow until Tuesday. So I would take the information from tonight,
Yeah.
come up with as clean of a business plan as you can for 2026, probably. Just keep it focused. And then we'll schedule the public hearing and see where it goes in May.
Sure.
So we need a motion to schedule a public hearing.
I'll make the motion to schedule a public hearing for May. Do we have a date?
Second.
May
27th.
May 27th.
27th.
And
Okay,
I'll second.
Any other questions or suggestions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Abstentions? We'll see you in a month.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for hanging around.
Okay. Now item 10E, new business. DLC 0788021 1419 Milwaukee Street, owner Holly K. Halstead Smurl. 2023 Living Trust. Applicant Allison Jones requesting approval to make improvements to the existing boathouse located on the east side of the property. So why don't you give us your name and address,
Sure.
please?
Yeah, Matt Retzak with Bartelt Remodeling, 528 Wells Street.
Okay. Give everyone a second to quiet down a bit.
You've waited long, so.
Do you have a gavel, Tim?
All right, Amy, why don't you give
Okay.
a quick overview?
Yeah, okay, so this is a .68 acre property on the south shore of Nagawicca Lake on Milwaukee Street. They have a single-family home, attached garage, and 2 boathouses near the lake. The boathouse on the east side of the property also has a residential unit above. The boathouse on the west side of the property is a dry boathouse, and it previously had 2 levels, and then in 2014, the applicant, or the property owner, not the applicant, obtained a building permit from the building inspector to remove the upper level and to do some other improvements. That did have a value of about just under $50,000. Most of those improvements were not structural, and most of the cost was associated with removing that second level. And then the boathouse on the east side was also improved in 2014, which had the residential unit for many, many decades. They made significant improvements, but they were all cosmetic. None of those improvements were structural, according to the applicant. And then they are proposing some improvements now that the structural improvements cost about $3,043, and the structural element is inclusive of repairing some basement wood beams and columns with steel to shore up the flooring system. The reason why this is important, the cost element of it, is that the boathouses are non-conforming as far as a use perspective because there are 2 boathouses on the property instead of 1. The boathouse in question has a residential component to it, so it doesn't meet the use requirements for a boathouse, and then it's also in the floodplain. So they can't exceed 50% of the fair market value of the structure because of the use associated with it over the lifetime. With the documentation that they provided and the proposed improvements, it actually does not appear that they are exceeding 50%, even though the value has been significant. Then in addition to that, because it's in the floodplain, The floodplain ordinance requires that, in addition to the typical 50% value over the lifetime issue, they can't maintain the boathouse more than 50% of its value. That includes everything from painting, repair, anything they touch. Well, they've well exceeded 50% in maintenance of this boathouse. So because of that, they have to comply with all the floodplain ordinance requirements. They did hire an engineer who's sent a letter over with his justification for why they have met the floodplain ordinance. Because the DNR oversees the city, and they actually inquired about it when they issued their permit for their element because it's a wet boathouse. I've sent it to the DNR for comment. So before we can issue a permit, the DNR will need to respond. Other than that, though, I think that is more technical between me and Scott to work through with the applicant. The Plan Commission's role here is really to ensure that the location, architectural design, color, and material are compatible with the principal structure, and that they have proper rainwater remediation, that they're considering buildings on adjacent properties, the lakeshore setting, and the neighbors' comments, and any Lake Welfare Committee comments. And Mike can speak to it, but Lake Welfare did unanimously recommend approval of this boathouse, subject to the conditions that I have stated in the report, which would include that the improvements not commence until a certificate is issued by the planner and a building permit by the building inspector. And they have to comply with the plans prepared by Bartelt. The construction of the boathouse improvements shall not commence until the engineer demonstrates that all provisions of Chapter 16 floodplain ordinance have been met. And the construction of the boathouse improvements shall not commence until the Wisconsin DNR has confirmed that the improvements comply with all state and federal requirements. I have that in there because the DNR's permit actually conflicts with itself. They say it can't be a residence, but then it acknowledges the residence and it says it's legal, non-conforming. I think they probably had a standard condition in their boathouse permit that they forgot to delete, but I do want confirmation from them. And then no changes to the overhead door are proposed nor permitted. And the applicant shall verify that the rain gardens constructed in 2014 are still properly functioning. So that one was newly added since Lake Welfare. I don't even know if I've shared that with you yet, Matt, but that is a.
I just saw it in the report.
Okay, it is a condition. We do need to make sure that those are functioning properly. Any questions?
So Matt's heard this already, but this boathouse is the poster child for everything we hate about boathouses. It's wet. Somebody lives in the boathouse. It's non-conforming. It's too close, but it's also legal non-conforming. And we had, I mean, we legally, they're there. That boathouse has been there since, for many years. Somebody's lived there for almost 40 years or something. So
And I went back in the aerial maps on GIS, and I couldn't find a picture that didn't show it. Like, it's been there a while.
it has been. And again, the wet part is probably more of a curse than a blessing because you can't really get a boat in there. So great, we've got a built-in humidifier underneath your house, but that's their problem. So it was with regret we have to legally recognize that what they're asking for is legal because they were there. So
it's grandfathered in.
it is really. I mean, they have the legal right to do what they're doing, and it is within all the regulations that, because Amy's gone through it pretty clearly. So to think that we are fully behind Lake Welfare, no, not so much. But again, we are also behind people doing things legally, and they're doing this legally.
Yeah, at least he's asking.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So yes, Lake Welfare did approve it, and what they're asking for is legal.
You want to make a motion?
We can be quick. We
I
don't
was
have
having my glasses on here. Give me a
Actually,
second.
I know.
Yes.
Pro boathouse, wet boathouse? Go ahead.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the boathouse improvements as presented, subject to the 5 conditions outlined by staff in the document.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, or abstentions. Motion passes.
It was a long time to wait,
It
wasn't
was
it,
the
Matt?
fastest agenda item we had.
He sat here all night. I saw him in the corner.
It was worth
walked
it.
in. Wow.
Okay, item 10F.
Thank you.
1133 Bayshore Lane, owner Aaron Holtbeck, applicant Tim Rigsby Group, Inc., requesting approval to construct a boathouse.
Another boathouse.
Okay.
Just a season.
So this is a 3.5 acre property located on the south side of the lake on Bayshore Lane. Bayshore Lane's actually a private road that has access through, also through Milwaukee Street. The applicant's in the process of constructing a new home and attached garage, and then they eventually do want to construct an outbuilding. The proposal tonight is to construct a boathouse on the east side of the property near the shore. It would be 551 square feet, and it's 11.5 feet to the top of the roof deck. The boathouse will consist of stone veneer and shake siding in neutral colors, and let's see if I can find an example. So that's an idea of what it looks like. It will match the home that's being constructed. The deck will be a dark brown, and the railing will be black metal with, I believe you decided on wire rails. Wire rails. So one of the comments from Lake Welfare was to ensure that the rail system be more than 50 or be at least 50% open. Light caps will be installed, and then there are steps that will be installed on the south side of the boathouse, the backside to provide access to the lake. And then there'll be one downcast gooseneck light above the overhead door facing the water. And then there's a man door in the west elevation and a 10-foot wide overhead door on the lake side, and they will not have more than 25% glass. And the applicant is proposing to install a hose bib on the outside, no other plumbing, and the boathouse, I already said, is designed to match the home. It complies with all of the setback requirements. They are proposing a rain garden between the boathouse and the lot line. It is a pretty narrow strip, so we did have the engineer take a look at it. We usually don't do that. And they made some modifications at the engineer's request, and now the design that's in the packet has been approved. We do just need an updated planning landscape plan just to make sure the ordinance is met. So their landscape list includes all of the landscaping they're proposing. But we do need to make sure that grasses and sedges make up at least 40% of the total plantings, and that the species come from a certain list in the ordinance. So they'll need to do that. Yeah. Your review is the same as the last report that I gave, and the conditions in the report are what the Lake Welfare Committee has recommended unanimously. I just added at their request that the rooftop deck railing be at least 50% open, and then I added to the condition requiring a plat survey to ensure the setbacks are met, because they provide an architectural plan instead. And there's a long list of conditions, which I can go over if you'd like.
All right, since you're here, how about name and address, please?
Chase Rixby, 829 North Rose Road, Oconomowoc.
All right. Do you have anything to add to Amy's report?
We are adding one light by the man door.
Okay.
That was been added.
Same gooseneck design, or?
It'll be matching.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this was unanimously endorsed?
Yes, a little bit less angst than the last boathouse. More concerned about what was on the top, and that's why we were concerned about the railing. I'm glad to hear the wire.
It'll match the house.
Yeah, that's good. In this boat, there is quite a bit of elevation from the house down to the boathouse, so this boathouse isn't going to be blocking anybody's view. So while we're not fans of boathouses at Lake Welfare, we did approve this unanimously. They've complied, obviously, the laundry list of conditions which we're concerned about. They're working with us in terms of which things they want to do and how they want to do it, and seem to be within compliance.
Then the owner is hiring the landscaper on his own. So we're waiting for that species for the rain garden.
Okay.
So when we do the permit for the boathouse, we'll have all of that ready. Same with the plat survey.
Okay.
Official.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the boathouse as presented, subject to the 12 items listed by the city planner.
I'll second.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, or abstentions? Okay. Keep working with staff. Okay, item 10G, DELC 8192976 Parkway, owner and applicant Ian and Abigail Martin, request site plan and appearance approval to construct a fence. Is the applicant here? We're running thin on audience members, so I'm assuming it was you. Okay, Amy, why don't you introduce us?
Okay, so the applicant recently constructed a new home in the new Delafield Parkway subdivision. The rear yard does abut the American Legion property. They did obtain a permit from the building inspector in 2025 for a fence that did comply with all the ordinance requirements. The approved fence was allowed to be located within the side lot lines because it was designed at 4 feet in height and 50% open. And then it was also allowed to extend to 6 feet in height in the rear of the property because it was going to comply with the rear yard setback. But then it was later determined that the fence did not comply with those requirements, and the entire length of the fence was constructed at 6 feet in height and less than 50% open, and all of the fencing is within the setback, or too, I should say, too close to the setback requirements. So after the applicant was notified, they did come in and propose, and actually already did the work, to reduce the height of the fence to 4 feet and remove the boards so that the fence is 50% open on the side lot line. So you're not really considering the side lot fencing. But they are asking Plan Commission to approve the rear yard fence as it's constructed, which would be 6 feet in height and a privacy fence. And that is because they are abutting that Legion property, and the applicant has indicated that it is a little unkept with the vegetation. There's some invasive species back there, and that it is collecting trash and debris in that back area. So the Plan Commission's review should consider public health, safety, morals, comfort, general welfare, to enhance the values of property throughout the city, to avoid and prevent deterioration in general appearance of buildings, landscaping, and open areas, to encourage and promote an efficient use of land, to assure the site development takes into account the efficient provision of vehicular and pedestrian access, public utilities, stormwater facilities, and elements of public infrastructure and public facilities, to encourage and promote acceptability, attractiveness, cohesiveness, and compatibility of new buildings, development, remodeling, and additions, and to preserve and protect the appearance and aesthetic quality of the city. Generally, what it comes down to, and what I always state in the fence reports, is to encourage that cohesive and compatible development that protects the aesthetic quality of the city. Plan Commission should consider whether or not the proposed area of the fence is adequate and whether or not there's any opportunity to reduce the height or privacy, or redesign the wall. With that being said, the owner has indicated that backyard, they'd like to screen themselves from the Legion use and activities along the property line. And I do believe there's some pictures in the packet of that area and the fence itself that I have on the screen.
So would you mind giving your name and address and just an overview of what, just anything Amy has stated?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Ian Martin, 976 Parkway. It's my wife, Abigail. I think Amy did a good job summarizing it. We moved in last fall, corrected the side yard stuff that was not correct, and so that's all accurate. We would like to keep the rear fence as we built it. I actually think it's 5 feet, not 6 feet, though, with the top 1 foot being open with kind of decorative vertical slats that you can see in some of the images.
So are you seeing 4 feet and then a foot of open slats?
Yes.
Or 5? Okay.
Yeah, yep. And so I want to start by saying that we have really liked living in Delafield. It's only been a couple months, but we've really enjoyed it. In particular, we have enjoyed having the Legion as our backdoor neighbor. I mention it because at earlier parts in the meeting, there was a discussion about lights and noise and all that. We have none of those objections. In fact, we're part of the appeal for it was our son plays baseball on that field, and we had our first game last night. I learned what a coon feed was. That was new for me. And we've been there for the fish fry. So I just want to clarify that none of this is meant to be a critique of what's going on there. We have no objections to any of that, and we believe we're the beneficiary of it. We would like to keep the fence that we've built in that section. Amy described it. It is a little bit unkept back there. There is some trash back there. And so that's certainly part of the concern. I don't believe it's appropriate for me to go over to Legion and tell them what to do with their property in the same way I really wouldn't like it if somebody came and told me what to do with it. So I'm trying to be respectful of their operations and what they do. There is another concern that, and the pictures do an okay job, but this 20, maybe 30-foot strip, it sort of curves so it gets wider and narrower in some spots. There are people that walk through there. I'm not saying it's the most pleasant walk in the world, but and I'm not sure if I don't know that they're Legion guests or just people passing by, but the reality is we do have people that walk by there. And so part of, it's partly aesthetics, I think, but it's also partly, we do have little kids and frankly, myself sitting on my patio, I prefer not to have people just that I don't know kind of walking right by my fence. So I think it's both an aesthetic concern, but also kind of a privacy safety concern for us. I've gone through the criteria. I won't go through each bullet point, explain to you why I think the fence meets the criteria. We wouldn't be here if we didn't think that it did. So happy to answer any questions or just leave it at that.
Well, maybe the criteria is relevant. I was going to ask why you didn't build the fence pursuant to what the building inspector approved.
Yeah, so there's two parts to that. One for the rear fence that we're here talking about. When we came in for the permit and built the rear fence, we didn't know where the property line was, and so we didn't understand that we weren't 10 feet off the property line. By the time the fall came around and we finally started moving into the house, we did have it surveyed, and it is on our property, but it is inside that 10-foot setback. On the sides, that's on me. That was a miscommunication with my contractor that built it. And so, yeah, the staff let us know that it didn't comply, and we corrected it. But the side issue that's my fault.
Mm-hmm. And just so you know, when I saw the packet and I saw you mention the trash, I contacted the post commander, vice commander about it. For some reason, there was a fiberglass tank back there. They don't know how it got back there. And also a bed liner for a pickup truck, plastic bed liner that they don't know how it got back there. But 2 days ago, they removed it. So, and in the future, if you see something, they're okay if you reach out to them.
Sure.
All right. So I made sure at least, and also on May 2nd, they're having a grounds cleanup. So anything else, I'm sure they'll be taken care of.
Yep. Great.
So am I misunderstanding, though? Okay, you explained the non-compliance in the easement, but the height of the rear fence was not to spec either. And I think from my standpoint, the height is the bigger issue. Because there's a reason why we have, again, we like fences like we like lights. It's one of those things where it's like, 4-foot fence, and I think that's what was originally spec'd was fine, but you said it was 5 feet, even though we thought it was 6 foot.
I just want to, they were allowed to have a 6-foot tall fence in the back
Right.
because it met the setback, but it was supposed to be
Okay.
50% open and meet the setback. And
Got it. It was the
wasn't
50%
either of
open
those.
then. Okay. All right. The design, though, you thought the top being open was good enough for it being 50% open? Or I'm just looking to understand what was understood when you went into this.
Yeah,
and-
fair question, and I'd be the first to admit, and Amy and Scott can jump in here, but the code is, I think, a little bit confusing about what's allowed in side yards versus rear yards. So if I get it wrong, you guys jump in and tell me, but I think the rear yard is you can have a 6-foot fence that's opaque if it's 10 feet off of the property line. And so, and again, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what it says. So prior to when we moved in, when the fence was built, I didn't know that it was inside that 10-foot setback. So that's why it was built. I didn't think anything of it because we built it to 5 feet, 4 feet opaque with 1 foot on top. So frankly, I didn't worry much about the 6 feet. I think the original permit application said 6 feet, but we built it at 5 feet consistently around the sides, the back, so it all looked like one fence. And now I realize that was a mistake, so that's why we're here.
Okay.
So how far off are you off the 10 feet? Are you off by a foot, 5 feet?
They're right on the line. They're pretty
Right-
darn close.
Right on the property line?
Yeah, so when we had it surveyed, and I think
Point
I,
2 feet, point
Yeah.
0.04 feet in one corner.
what my contractor did was, when they went back out, they had set the corner posts for the lots at that point, and so they just ran a string line, built it inside the string line, and didn't, I never thought to tell them to stop, because again, I was just wrong about what the code said.
The heartburn I have with this is I take your answer to my earlier question as accurate. But we deal with fences, and it's, for us, been a huge challenge. People asking for exceptions and being angry, et cetera. And by the way, from a pure exception point of view, just from my perspective, if we were going to grant one, this would be a lot. Personally, I would say we should grant, because it's not abutting on another property, which I think is the spirit of, and probably the letter of what we have in the law. Where the heartburn comes in is because of all of this precedent is, and I don't know if there's something we could put into the, if we do decide to pass it, where we don't end up with people coming in here and say, well, we'll build it first and then ask for forgiveness. And I'm not saying you did that, but I don't know, maybe there's a way for your builder to pay to redo it or something. But I don't know how the other members here think about it, but that's the heartburn I have with your request, even though I think it's in good faith.
You know, I walk back there, and you have plantings on the inside of the fence, correct?
Yes.
And they're arborvitaes and evergreens of some kind, so you're going to get elevation out of that to begin with, right?
We have both. We have both pine trees and arborvitaes and some hardwoods. So there's some like aspens and pear trees.
Yeah. You know, the concern I have is it's built, and now you want to have us say, yes, it's okay. That's setting a precedence. There's other properties along there, they could easily do the same thing. And now we've just opened up Pandora's box. And that's one thing we've been trying to correct really well is, you know, you're given a permit for a reason, and it's up to you as a property owner to make sure that it's being put in correctly. All right, you know, the contractor, yes, they should have, you know, made it correctly also, but still, at the end of the day, it's got to be done correctly. You know, so the options then look at this way. We say, yes, leave it where it is. No, cut it down to 4 feet and make it 50% open, or move the whole fence back in off the lot line. And then it's a problem, because now you're cutting into your yard, and you've got plantings there. So you see the problem that it's in right now.
If I could, I want to embrace the fact here that I really am. We are trying to fall on the sword. This was a mistake. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. This was our mistake. We're the homeowners. We're responsible for it. So one solution, and I do want to be sensitive to what you're saying, that I don't want to create a slippery slope for anybody. I don't want to create a precedent. I totally get that. I guess what I could offer is within reason, and I don't know what that means, but we would be willing to pay a fine because I did screw it up. And, you know, again, I don't know what that would look like, but it seems to me that that would be a deterrent that would preclude the precedent. Again, I don't have endless buckets of money, but if there was a reasonable amount, I think it's reasonable for the city to say we should be fined. Again, it was our mistake, and I understand that.
Yeah, but you still have an issue of compliance with the municipal code. You know, and that's really what that's what this body acts on. And that's how I'm viewing it. You know, I would personally say cut it down to the correct height, make it 50% open. You did it to your sides, and your sides look really good. I will say that. And with your plantings that you have inside your fence line, you are offering yourself some really good privacy while you're in your backyard looking outward. You know, that's just the way I viewed it, of course.
Amy, let me just make sure I'm following the code. He could have built a 6-foot fence if he built it 10 feet back from the yard.
From the lot line.
Yes.
From the lot line, I'm sorry, thank you. So, but he couldn't have built a 4-foot fence 2 inches from the lot line, correct?
Yes, he could have.
Oh, he could have.
If it was 50% open.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, one solution is 4 feet, 50% open.
In that same location.
Right.
Right.
Chainsaw.
How much heartburn does that provide you?
Well, yeah, for the reasons I stated, I don't like that outcome. I'd rather, again, I appreciate that I've gotten my sequencing out of whack here. I do understand that, and I appreciate that there should be some consequences for that. But nonetheless, I would have come here. This is the mechanism, as I understand it, for the city to approve these sort of situations. And so I would be here in any event asking for this type of fence. You know, I do think it's a nice fence. I mean, it's a nice cedar fence. It's well built. It looks good. So I don't think it's a bad aesthetic thing. The challenge with 4 feet to me is just about anybody can look over the top of a 4-foot fence. I understand that I can do significant amounts of landscaping theoretically to protect it. But I guess the question would be, why is that a better outcome than this kind of unique situation that we have?
But you've already taken steps with landscaping.
Yeah.
That's how I'm looking at it too. You've already taken those steps inside your yard to block your fence, most of it, in that area.
I'd be happy to take you to my backyard. Along the rear fence, it's primarily hardwoods, aspens and hardwoods.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I saw a corner there, and I didn't like climb your fence or anything like that. Please, I didn't do that. I'm standing outside there because I walked over there. I don't live too far from there. So I walked over to look around and, you know, stayed on the Legion property, just so you know. And, you know, so I viewed it as already you made an effort on your side of the fence to put up some level of a natural barrier there with plantings, which is great. You know, I'm sure it looks great.
Are those plantings you put in recently? I know it's a new home.
We actually, and this is part of why we're out of sequence here a little bit, is we had it all planted in the fall in hopes that by the springtime, once we had moved in, it was nice.
Because I think arborvitae's would fix the problem as well, but.
Yeah, but the issue is the code compliance, right? And
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and
it's-
what he's referring to is just you can't make an exception, even though the story makes sense. I think there was a boathouse door, like $100,000 door that they didn't follow, and we didn't have a choice. Like, nope, sorry, rip the door out and redo it. You know, because you can't. Everybody's got a legitimate reason as to why there should be an exception, and that's what everybody struggles with.
Sure.
I just want to make sure, because I think it's maybe being explained in a bit of a confusing manner. It's not a variance or non-compliance with the code, other than he built it without getting permits. That's non-compliant with the code. But it's not a variance. The code says that Plan Commission can approve a privacy fence. Now, there's a whole bunch of criteria you need to look at in order to approve it, and you've been pretty strict with those reviews and approvals, but it's not non-compliant. You're not.
So why is he here then?
Because.
We have to approve it, and it's
Yeah.
built first and asking for approval later. So the real question is, pretend like we're back in time and this fence isn't here, and he's stating the same reasons for why he wants this fence to be 5 foot on the line, a little open on top, sort of an amalgam between what the letter of the law says without, getting approval and where we're at. Are those reasons sufficient to say, because my south exposure is to an institutional use and it's semi-public and people are kind of peering in, I got little kids, I'm concerned this would help me with my concerns. What do you guys think?
To
That-
me, he's
that
got-
I would
to me-
support.
You know what I
yeah, To
mean?
me, he's
So,
got
but-
a legitimate,
so-
different than if it's just a neighbor behind him,
Right,
right?
it's not a spite fence. I don't believe it was a land grab to say I want that extra 10 feet.
Yep.
Because he's putting plants there anyways, depending. So the situation that we'd put ourselves in by approving it would be any next door neighbor saying, I want the same thing. But is that okay on that exposure with
Yes.
the ballpark to the south?
The answer would
and the
have to be
institutional
yes.
use?
And it would be, from my perspective, if they were coming in here and asking for that exception, I'd be okay with it. And we would do, in my opinion, I would do it every time somebody came in and they needed a fence where they weren't backed up to a neighbor and they had a ballpark or your use of an industrial.
I would agree with you on
There,
that.
there is situations where because of commercial use, we've had people build a taller than 4-foot fence that wasn't 50% open to get headlight spray and just the privacy, maintain the privacy. You've got a neighbor behind you, a dental
I have a
office.
fence yet. If I did, it'd be 20 feet.
Okay, but, right, so that's really the conundrum's really, are we setting a precedent we wouldn't follow all the way along that fence
No,
line for all the
no,
other neighbors?
In my opinion, no,
No.
because it's different. It's not.
But I'm a little confused a little bit now about the statute.
So it
I'm on
has to be
board.
4 feet, it
Yep.
has to either be 10 foot off the lot line,
Yep,
and it can be 6 feet, or if it's on the lot line, it can be 4 foot and 50% open without any kind of plan commission approval. If it's anything but that, bigger, more opaque, then we have the discretion to give
we have the
approval.
discretion.
Up to
Okay.
whatever, what,
Yeah,
6 feet?
Oh, that's,
I think as the Park and Rec guy, we approve it and he has to donate $5 to the tree fund.
Don't,
I do
it's gonna
that?
cost
Is
us more to process that. I appreciate your,
We offered the penalty. Let's get the tree
there's
fund.
no mechanism for that. That was gracious, but there's no mechanism. So-
that's an understanding I didn't have.
Yeah,
I would
that
support
changes it then.
as
So
long as
make-
we had the documentation so that when somebody comes in and they want a 10-foot fence on the lot line, and they have a neighbor on a quarter-acre lot in their backyard, and we say no. Because I think that's the spirit of why we have the law to begin with. So, I mean, that,
We've done it for safety before with
Yeah,
someone who had,
or safety, yeah.
like 2 German shepherds and there's little
Yeah.
kids next
Yeah,
door.
I
We
remember
needed a
that
bigger
one.
fence and
yep.
Rowdy neighbors.
rowdy neighbors with pools.
So I don't know if I would make a motion based on that new knowledge, but I don't know if people are.
Just echoing one more thing, and I'm not picking on you, Ian, but I am so tired of, begging forgiveness rather than asking permission.
Yeah.
I mean, in the boathouse doors and lights, the light won't be on past 10 o'clock, it's on all night. I mean, it just goes on, and it gets really frustrating, I think.
Yeah.
If you'd come in here ahead of time and said, listen, we're gonna build this fence, probably be okay with it. Now it's just rubbing me the wrong way, and that's not the right justification, but damn, it makes me annoyed. So anyway, had to get that off my chest.
I would have to agree with you, because
Yeah.
I cringe every time I see fence in our back.
Well, let's make a decision. Somebody
Yeah.
make a
Well,
motion.
I would just like to say that, yeah, this feels like forgiveness instead of permission to me. And, I realize you made an honest mistake, but when I looked at this in the agenda, I said, how did we get here? I mean, we know what the standards are, and this isn't close. This isn't close.
If anything, whoever built it should be held liable, because they didn't come in to the city and find out what the
Okay,
code
we're
was.
having someone want to make a motion, then have some more discussion, and then we'll vote on it. How about that?
Right.
I'll move approval of the fence. And I want to put some contingencies on it, is that all right? Pursuant to the fact, or in consideration of the fact, that it abuts a public playground or baseball field,
Non-residential use.
non-residential use backyard.
Is there a second?
That's the only reason I would second it, for that reason. So yes, I'll
All
second.
right, any more discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, well, we need a different motion then, so motion fails. So someone needs to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that the fence has to comply with the 4-foot-high, 50% open.
I second it.
Any more discussion, questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
I'll be a nay.
Okay, do you have that?
Dan?
Scott?
Okay, I don't know if you have any questions, you can work, Amy, you can answer them, or Scott could probably help as far as, no, Scott Husson.
Oh, okay.
Scott. All right, welcome to Delafield, sorry for saying no. Okay. Let's see, item 11, comprehensive zoning and ordinance revision. We got nothing. Item 12, reports of city officials. Correspondence is in the packet. Planner? Nothing. Nothing more. Building inspector?
Nothing.
All right, plan commission meeting dates and deadlines. Regular meeting, May 27th, 2026. Regular meeting submittal deadline is today. Seeing no further business, we are now adjourned at 9:44 PM.